I'm the head chef for state banquets, and I made my name nationwide with a single dish, freshly stewed pufferfish. Even a leader with a special background came to the restaurant quietly, just to taste this one fresh dish. In my past life, my husband's childhood sweetheart, who had only spent 2 weeks learning cold dishes, secretly sneaked into the kitchen and tried to take my place cooking the pufferfish so she could steal the credit. Luckily, I discovered it in time and stopped her firmly, allowing the leader to enjoy the meal smoothly. The leaders couldn't stop praising me and even publicly awarded me the title of Most Beautiful Chef. They even paid out of their own pockets to sponsor me in opening a 5-star restaurant. My husband's childhood sweetheart was so jealous she went insane. In the middle of the night, she and my husband teamed up to force pufferfish toxin down my throat. You poisonous woman. So many pufferfish have died because of you. Killing you with pufferfish toxin would at least avenge them. The toxin surged through my body in an instant, and my heart went numb as I keeled over, vomiting nonstop. I was soon dead. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day the top leader came to visit. This time, my childhood sweetheart was still clamoring for credit. Since she wants to be a murderer, then I'm not stopping her anymore. The suffocating grip of cardiac arrest clutched my throat tightly. In despair, I could feel life slipping away. Those few short seconds felt unbearably long. At last, I clutched my chest and closed my eyes. Suddenly, a sharp voice rang out overhead. I jolted awake, only to be met with Shenlei pointing a finger at my nose and cursing at me. Tang Qingyan, stop pretending to be sick here. Yu was trying to help you out of kindness, and you still dare to yell at her. You're completely ungrateful. To my shock, Lin Yu was standing right in front of me, eyes red, nestled in Shenlei's arms, and I wasn't even at home, but in the back kitchen of a restaurant. I'd been reborn. I didn't die. Seeing me clutch my chest with my face as pale as a sheet, Shenlei frowned and softened his voice. Honey, are you feeling unwell? He moved in to steady my elbow, but only lightly, and I was still reeling from the pain of total numbness, so for a moment I couldn't say a word. Secretary Chen is about to arrive. You look so sickly. It's embarrassing. Luckily, Yu is kind enough to help you. Otherwise, if we offend Secretary Chen, our whole family will be done for. Lin Yu pouted, looking thoroughly unconvinced. Yeah, exactly. Sister Tang, I've watched you make that stewed fish several times already. It's such a simple recipe. Who wouldn't be able to learn it? You're always keeping things to yourself. Humph. I've already learned it long ago. I ignored Lin Yu and turned a frosty gaze toward Shenlei. So you think so too? Lin Yu has only been here at the restaurant learning to cook cold dishes for 2 weeks. Do you really think she can handle pufferfish? Back when Shenlei and I weren't married yet, I spent every day studying how to prepare pufferfish. One tiny mistake could poison someone, so I always kept antidotes close at hand, terrified that someone might die. Shenlei wasn't unaware of how deadly tetrodotoxin was. Otherwise, they wouldn't have used it to kill me in our past life. Ha, Tang Qingyan. Let me tell you, Yo-Yo is a culinary genius. Whatever you've spent years studying, she'd master after just a few looks. Hurry up and move aside. Stop getting in the way. Secretary Chen will be here any minute. If no one gets to eat, are you going to take responsibility? Shenlei shoved me aside, took over the main cooking station, and even thoughtfully tied an apron on Lin Yo-Yo. She blinked at me, putting on an innocent act as she taunted me. Sorry, Sister Tang. Brother Shen thinks my hands were born to cook, so he won't let me do this kind of dirty work myself. I knew exactly how capable Lin Yu was. She'd been learning to cook for 2 weeks and still couldn't tell sugar from salt, often mistaking vinegar for soy sauce. Without changing my expression, I turned on my phone's recording function and asked them loudly, you knew perfectly well that Secretary Chen has a distinguished status. If something goes wrong because you had Lin Yu make pufferfish, who's going to take responsibility? I'll take care of it. My mother-in-law's shrill voice rang out from behind me. I frowned and turned around. Mom, what are you doing here? My mother-in-law planted her hands on her hips and glared at me. What am I doing here? If I hadn't come, I never would have known you were here bullying my precious goddaughter. Yu is a culinary genius. She's the perfect person to make fish for Secretary Chen. Someone like you, reeking of cooking oil and covered in kitchen grime, is completely unfit. Hurry up and get out. Secretary Chen is already at the door. I need to take good care of him and give our Yo-Yo some face. I turned off the recording button and sneered inwardly. I glanced over at the three of them and said flatly, fine, since you all agreed to let Lin Yo-Yo make the pufferfish, I'll be waiting. Secretary Chen came into the kitchen with his assistant, and Shenlei and the mother-in-law immediately put on ingratiating smiles and reached out for a handshake. To everyone's surprise, Secretary Chen brushed past them and headed straight for me. Smiling warmly, he took the initiative to extend his hand toward me. So you must be Chef Tang. You really are outstanding for someone so young. I can't believe you're already so skilled in fugu cuisine at your age. Lin Yuyu immediately rolled her eyes, squeezed in front of me, and reached out to shake Secretary Chen's hand first. Oh, Secretary Chen, actually, Sister Tang doesn't know the first thing about cooking fugu. Don't let her fool you. Those rumors about her are all fake. There. Just paid marketing and hired bots. I'm the real cooking was here. I'll personally cook for you in a bit. I promise I'll have you licking your plate clean. Watching her act all innocent and ingratiating, Secretary Chen's smile froze on his face. He pulled his hand back several times before finally managing to do so, then gave me an awkward look. Before I could say anything, my mother-in-law crowded over again and squeezed me out. That's right. Secretary Chen, my daughter-in-law here is nowhere near presentable. All those rumors out there are just that, rumors. Don't believe them. Our Yuyu is the one who really knows how to make fish. Just you wait. Yuyu is my goddaughter, and her skills are the best of the best. She's far better than Tang Qingyan's flashy showmanship. As she spoke, Lin Yuyu immediately tiptoed over at a quick trot to the main cooking station to prep the ingredients. After a while, the clatter of pots and pans rang out. Ah, that fish! A scream came from over there. Secretary Chen frowned and looked over, only to see Lin Yuyu clumsily gripping the knife handle with both hands, eyes shut, wildly chopping at the pufferfish. The fish had long since fallen to the floor, thrashing around, but she was still mindlessly hacking away at the cutting board. The fish tail had splashed quite a few droplets into the pot, and she simply turned on the heat and poured in the oil. The oil splattered and popped like firecrackers, scaring Lin Yuyu so badly that she jumped 2 meters back. Shenlei and his mother were busy helping her catch fish and chop vegetables. When they got too swamped to keep up, they remembered me. Tang Qingyan, what are you standing there for? Don't you know to come over and help? Ha, and you still think you can boss me around? I pretended to be concerned as I walked over and craned my neck. What's wrong? Don't know how to do it. A culinary genius who can't even gut a fish, or should I do it? Dealing with this bunch of idiots, the provocation tactic always worked best. No need, you all go out, I can do it myself. With that, Lin Yuyu pushed away her mother-in-law and Shenlei, insisting on stubbornly handling it alone. She held the pot lid like a shield in one hand and blindly stirred the mess in the pot with a spatula in the other, worried something might go wrong. Secretary Chen pulled me back 2 steps and said, in that case, Chef Tang, why don't you do me the honor of waiting with me in the private room? This place really is. Seeing the awkward look on the leader's face and sensing he had more to say, I nodded and escorted him out. Suddenly, my mother-in-law looked displeased. She quickly caught up with us with a smile, putting on a proper, composed air as she led Secretary Chen to the private room. As she walked, she kept praising Lin Yuyu, while not forgetting to put me down. Secretary Chen, Yo-Yo's a little nervous today. After all, hosting such an important leader like you is a big deal. She's an amazing cook, too. She makes exactly the kind of delicious food you love. One bite, and you'll never forget it. Not only is she beautiful and a great cook, but she's also highly educated, unlike Tang Qingyan, who only finished high school and never had the chance to get a higher education, and her parents died young, so who knows, maybe she's the reason. You don't know this, but growing up without parents really does mean a lack of manners. She truly has none at all. The more my mother-in-law said, the more energized she got in putting me down, but she didn't notice at all that Secretary Chen's expression was growing darker by the second. Everyone only knew that he was now an important and powerful official of very high standing. Little did they know that when he was young, he was just a poor kid from the village who lost both his parents early and worked hard to study his way into the city. At that moment, my mother-in-law was still droning on about how I had no parents and no manners. Secretary Chen's face had gone livid. He drained his teacup in one gulp, gripping it so tightly his knuckles turned white, barely holding himself back from exploding. She had no idea she'd completely offended Secretary Chen. She even smiled and picked up the teapot, ready to top him up. Oh, Secretary Chen, that was my fault. I got so caught up in the conversation I didn't notice your cup was empty. Let me pour you another one. No need. Secretary Chen set down his teacup, stood up, and gave me a slight nod. I suddenly remembered I've still got some business to take care of. looks like today just isn't the right time. I'll come back another day to properly sample Chef Tang's cooking. He deliberately put extra emphasis on the 3 words Chef Tang. But his mother-in-law didn't catch on at all. She immediately reached out to stop him. You're leaving already. Don't rush, sir. The freshly stewed pufferfish will be ready any minute. As soon as she finished speaking, Lin Yuyu came rushing in carrying a steaming pot of fish soup. Move aside, quick. She trotted over with the fish soup and slammed it down hard onto the lazy Susan on the big table with a loud bang. Shenlei held her 2 reddened, scalded hands and placed them against his earlobes, looking at her with deep concern. Yuyu, you've worked hard. Did you burn yourself? Lin Yuyu bit her lip shyly and pushed him away, then turned to Secretary Chen and said, Secretary Chen, please try it quickly. I put a lot of heart into this. It's especially delicious. Without waiting for Secretary Chen to answer, Shenlei eagerly scooped him a bowl and brought it right over to him. I was shocked when I saw the color. The braised pufferfish I made has always been milky white, but the soup in front of me was actually yellowish green, and it looked really unsettling. How could I ever let the leader drink this? I immediately reached out to stop him. Secretary Chen said he had something to do and had to leave first, so we won't be tasting this soup. Only then did Secretary Chen's tense expression soften a little, and he nodded at me with a grateful look. Unexpectedly, mother-in-law slapped me across the face and scolded, what place do you have to speak here? The soup Yo-Yo made tastes delicious. I think you're deliberately trying to keep the leader from tasting it because you're afraid she'll steal your spotlight, aren't you? Even Secretary Chen was startled by this move. I was covering my face and didn't react for a moment. Shenlei and Lin Yuyu pulled me aside right away. The 3 of them all forced smiles as they carried the bowl of soup up to Secretary Chen. Don't mind her, leader. Please try it quickly. It's especially delicious. Exactly. Just look at how great it looks, smells, and tastes. If you're worried the pufferfish is poisonous, I'll taste it for you first. As she spoke, the old lady filled a bowl for herself and gulped it down in one go, then smacked her lips as if savoring something delicious. See, it's so good, nothing to worry about at all. With the 3 of them all pressing him like that, Secretary Chen had no choice but to reluctantly take a small sip with a spoon. Lin Yuyu leaned in with bright eyes and asked, how is it, boss? Pretty good, right? Secretary Chen gave an awkward, perfunctory reply. It's all right. It was obvious to anyone with a shred of common sense, but Lin Yuyu didn't get it at all. She put her hands on her hips and smugly tipped her chin at me. Hear that? Sister Tang, the boss said I did a good job. I told you long ago I'm a culinary genius, way better than you. She, too, picked up a bowl of fish soup and gulped it down. See, delicious, isn't it? It's absolutely exquisite. Before he even finished speaking, Secretary Chen's hand jolted, and the bowl of soup crashed to the floor. His lips turned blue as he started convulsing uncontrollably. The 3 of them were instantly panic-stricken, and Lin Yuyu, terrified, burrowed into Shenlei's arms. Brother Shen, what's wrong with the manager? He's not trying to scam us, is he? I stepped forward, pulled them apart, and shouted, this is pufferfish poisoning. Lin Yuyu said guiltily, impossible, I ate some too, so why am I fine? Shenlei held her in his arms and comforted her softly. It's okay, Yuyu. Anyway, Tang Qingyan is the head chef. If anything goes wrong, she can take the blame. Just say this fish was made by her. Watching them getting all lovey-dovey, I got so angry I could explode and shouted, you bunch of idiots, all you know how to do is dump the blame on someone else. Why don't you go get the antidote? Only then did Lin Yuyu reluctantly pull away from Shenlei's arms and hurriedly run to the back kitchen. I usually keep 2 antidotes within reach by my prep station. Whenever I finish cooking a fresh stew of pufferfish, I taste it first to make sure it's safe before serving it to the guests. I've experienced pufferfish poisoning before. To let Secretary Chen get some fresh air, I immediately unbuttoned the top button of his shirt and opened the private room door. Suddenly, my mother-in-law also started convulsing and collapsed to the floor, startling Shenlei into screaming wildly, Mom, what's wrong with you? Don't scare me like that. I rolled my eyes at Shenlei, too annoyed to hold back. Can't you tell it's pufferfish poisoning too? Mom just drank way more soup than Secretary Chen did. Nearly 2 minutes passed before Lin Yuyu came hurrying back, holding the antidote and skipping on one foot. Shenlei held his mother-in-law and kept pressing on her philtrum. Mom, hang in there, the antidote's here. Even Lin Yuyu, as foolish as she was, knew you couldn't afford to offend Secretary Chen, so she fed him the antidote first. After feeding him, she just stared at him expectantly, hoping he'd come to. completely ignoring that Shenlei was still waiting. Seeing Lin Yuyu crouched beside Secretary Chen as if nothing had happened, Shenlei could no longer hold back and snapped, "Yo-yo, what are you waiting for? Where's my mom's antidote?" Taken aback by the shout, Lin Yo-yo flinched, then gave him her trademark innocent look and stared at Shenlei with wide eyes. "Brother Shen, what do you mean, wasn't it given to Secretary Chen? The other one, my mom's still over here getting a fix, it's gone." "There was only one." Lin Yuyu blinked at him innocently. Normally, Shenlei loved this side of her. But right now he was dying to slap her. Gradually, Secretary Chen's breathing eased, becoming much steadier. I frowned and thought it over. There should clearly have been 2 antidotes by the prep counter, so why was Lin Yuyu saying there was only one? Meanwhile, his mother was convulsing on the floor, rolling around and vomiting nonstop, on the verge of rolling her eyes back. I suddenly burst out laughing, and Shenlei glared at me as he cursed, "Tang Qingyan, you heartless bastard, my mom's been poisoned and you're this happy. What the hell are you laughing at?" I shook my head. My tone relaxed. "You really are as stupid as I said you were. They all drank the fish soup, so why is Lin Yuyu perfectly fine? Aren't you curious?" At that, Shenlei turned to stare at Lin Yuyu, who stammered and shrank back. Too scared to say a word, I helped Secretary Chen up and sat him down on a chair to rest before I slowly said, "I always keep 2 doses of the antidote in the kitchen. One was used by Secretary Chen. As for the other, of course your beloved childhood sweetheart, Lin Yuyu, must have swallowed it when she rushed past just now." At that moment, mother-in-law kept clutching her throat and chest, her face twisted in agony. Shenlei couldn't stand my cryptic talk any longer and slammed the table at once. "What on earth are you trying to say?" What I mean is, your mom is beyond saving." Shenlei staggered back 2 steps as if struck by lightning. "How is that possible? In such a huge hotel? Are there really only 2 antidotes?" He looked at me in disbelief. "Honey, you're lying to me, right? You wouldn't just stand there and watch my mom die." I curved my lips into a smile and poured a cup of tea for Secretary Chen to rinse his mouth. I've always tasted the pufferfish poison myself before serving it. If there were any problem, I would never put it on a customer's table. Not to mention I'm skilled at it, and in all these years, nothing has ever gone wrong. Those 2 antidotes have been sitting there for years and never once been used. Who would have thought Lin Yuyu would dare serve pufferfish without tasting it first? I'm not the one who wanted to kill your mother. Thankfully, Secretary Chen only drank a sip of the poisoned fish soup, and the symptoms have now completely disappeared. The man, who had always been mild-mannered and refined, was now so furious that he slammed the table, stood up, pointed at Lin Yuyu, and scolded her harshly, "You little girl, you've got some nerve. How can you treat something this serious, where lives are at stake, as a joke? You're driving me crazy." At once, Lin Yuyu pouted and her eyes turned red. She instinctively wanted to turn to Shenlei for comfort, but Shenlei was busy tending to his mother, who was barely clinging to life, and had no time to spare for her. I bowed deeply to Secretary Chen and apologized. "I'm truly sorry, leader. I should have cooked for you myself. I not only failed to host you properly, but also ended up dragging you into this mess." Seeing me apologize, Lin Yuyu just clutched her skirt and lowered her head, crying beside me. She couldn't even manage to say sorry. Secretary Chen shot her a cold glance, then gave me a warm smile and helped me to my feet. "You're too kind, Chef Tang. I can tell you had no choice. After all, living with a crowd like this must have been hard on you." Although Secretary Chen was already quite disgusted with Shenlei and the other 2, he still did me the favor of sending a car to take my mother-in-law to the hospital. At every checkpoint and security gate, the moment they saw Secretary Chen's car, the barriers were opened at once, and the whole trip went through without a hitch. My mother-in-law was successfully taken to the emergency room, and before long the doctor came out to report the situation to Secretary Chen. Secretary Chen didn't want to see this family any longer, so after a few brief instructions, he left in a hurry. An hour later, my mother-in-law woke up, but the moment she did, she pointed at me and shouted, "Tang Qingyan, you poisoned me on purpose with that puffer fish dish, you heartless, vicious woman." I froze for a second, then it hit me. Shenlei and Lin Yuyu had already planned this with her. They were trying to pin the blame on me. Shenlei yanked me by the hair and dragged me to the hospital bed, while my mother-in-law jabbed her long fingernails at my forehead and hurled curses at me. "You're such a jinx. Insisting on making pufferfish almost got even the big boss killed. Someone like you, who can't even be seen in public, has brought nothing but shame to the Shen family." I let her keep hurling abuse at me, but with a cold laugh, I took out my phone and played the recording from that time, where she had shouted that if anything went wrong with the pufferfish she made Lin Yuyu prepare, she would take responsibility. Before I could react, Lin Yuyu snatched my phone away and smashed it hard onto the floor. The phone instantly shattered into several pieces. "You've really got some nerve, you even dared to record us. And use it to threaten us." My mother-in-law's booming voice didn't sound at all like the frail old woman who had almost just run out of breath. "I'm telling you right now, you're getting out of the marriage with nothing and divorcing Shinlei. Only Yuyu can be Mrs. Shin." Seeing that I said nothing, she immediately started wailing in the hospital room. "Come and see this, my unfilial daughter-in-law is poisoning an innocent old woman like me." Before long, many patients and family members had gathered to watch. Without expression, I picked up my shattered phone from the floor and left. "I'd be more than happy to get divorced, but there's no way I'm leaving with nothing. Just you wait and see." That very night, I went home, packed up all my things, and left. This house is still my premarital property, so I don't mind letting them strut around a little longer. When Secretary Chen found out I'd left my place, he warmly invited me to stay at his villa for a while. In truth, he was really inviting me to cook him an authentic stew of freshly prepared pufferfish so he could indulge his appetite. With some apology, I accepted Secretary Chen's request. It wasn't until I got to the villa that I realized how sincere he really was. It was the best hillside villa in the suburban area, and Secretary Chen not only arranged the largest guest room for me, he even paid me the salary of a private head chef, and had all the villa's kitchen staff assist me, Chef Tang, to savor your most authentic cooking. I specially had several of the fattest pufferfish air freighted here. They'll arrive tomorrow. I was startled. I knew from my past life that Secretary Chen was a true gourmet who had sampled delicacies from all over the world, but I hadn't expected him to be this fixated on the pufferfish I made. The next day, I was in the kitchen preparing the side dishes when the airship pufferfish had already landed in the city and would be delivered shortly. Unexpectedly, a commotion broke out outside the villa. Shinlei actually showed up with his mother-in-law and Lin Yuyu. The old woman shot them both a warning look and said, "When we meet Secretary Chen later, we have to be on the same page. Just say the pufferfish that day was made by Tang Qingyan, and we're here to apologize." Got it? When the housekeeper saw strangers and came out to stop them, Lin Yuyu slapped him across the face. "Where did this guard dog come from? Acting so rude. We're Secretary Chen's honored guests. We're here to make pufferfish for him." As the saying goes, if you're going to teach someone a lesson, you still have to look at who's backing them. The butler has worked in Secretary Chen's house for 10 years, so even his deputy has to give him some respect, and he actually got slapped by Lin Yuyu today right then and there. The butler was about to call security to throw them out. The commotion reached Secretary Chen's ears. He frowned and came out, only to be immediately grabbed by Shinlei and his mother, one on each side, each holding onto one of his arms. "Secretary Chen, oh my, you're my lifesaver. If you hadn't sent a car to rescue me that day, this old body of mine would have been done for." Pushing the two of them aside, Secretary Chen stepped back to keep his distance. "What are you here for?" Lin Yuyu twisted her body and spoke in an affected voice. "Leader, it was all because the pufferfish Tang Qingyan made that day was poisoned that you couldn't enjoy your meal. Today, we've come especially to make you another authentic freshly braised puffer fish dish." Secretary Chen sneered inwardly. Did they really think the leader was an idiot? After what happened that day, he had already seen what kind of people this family really were. He calmly had the butler open the door and led them into the villa. The three of them looked around at the scenery, barely able to hide their grins, already imagining the good days of striking it rich and rising to the top in the next second. The mother-in-law saw my pair of women's high heels and handbag by the door, and her smile froze for a moment. Secretary Chen turned around and asked, "What's wrong?" The mother-in-law pinched Shinlei's waist and laughed it off. Nothing, we get it. It is better to have a woman at home to take care of things, haha." But she lowered her voice and spoke mysteriously to Lin Yuyu and Shinlei. "Wasn't it said that Secretary Chen's wife is in Beijing, yet there's a woman in this villa in the city? If we can uncover some huge secret, wouldn't we be set for life?" As they entered the villa, they kept glancing around, trying to spot anything suspicious. I was carrying a bowl of freshly made seafood congee, planning to let Secretary Chen have the first taste, and the next second, I came face to face with them. "Tang Qingyan, what are you doing here?" Before I could even react, Lin Yuyu immediately pointed at the bowl of porridge in my hands and cried out in shock, "She's Here to poison Secretary Chen again, what? You vile woman, you'll pay for this. My mother-in-law immediately stepped forward and flipped over the bowl of freshly cooked porridge. Scalding porridge splashed onto my foot, turning the top of it bright red. Ow, what are you doing? The pain made me instinctively step back and clutch my swollen left foot. That porridge was made especially for Secretary Chen, and you just knocked it over like that. Oh, so you're finally admitting it, you poisoned the leader on purpose, didn't you? I'm telling you, I'm the lucky charm and lifesaver of Secretary Chen. I was the one who gave him the antidote last time, and I'm not letting you get away with it this time. Lin Yuyu grabbed my hair and yanked me straight to the ground while Shenlei sneered beside her. I never thought I'd end up marrying such a vicious woman. Son, don't waste your breath on this bitch. The day we brought up divorce, she didn't say a single word and ran off. She's definitely here today to seduce Secretary Chen. I'll beat the hell out of you, you little vixen. Before I could even react, they started tearing at my clothes. Lin Yuyu even came down hard on my foot, the one that had just been scalded and was still red and swollen. The pain made me gasp sharply. Are you insane? Lin Yuyu made the poison pufferfish, so why are you pinning the blame on me? You've twisted the truth so badly you've even fooled yourselves. Do you really think Secretary Chen is as clueless as you are, Lin Yuyu? You brainless fool, you still think you can be Secretary Chen's savior? Dream on. As I fought back, I grabbed Lin Yuyu by her long hair and slapped her hard across the face. I'd been holding back on that slap for a long time. Lin Yuyu was so stunned by the slap that she stood there for a few seconds, clutching her face. Why you dare hit me? If I want to hit you, I hit you. Do I need to pick an auspicious day? As I spoke, I gave Shenlei's but another hard kick. And you too, marrying you was the biggest stain on my life, an ungrateful, worthless man. Shenlei and my mother-in-law never expected me to fight back. They exchanged a look, then rushed at me to beat me up. The three of them had already raised their fists high. The next second, Secretary Chen arrived. Stop right there. How dare you beat up my guest in my own home? Secretary Chen strode forward and shielded me behind him, barking at them. Chef Tang is a distinguished guest I personally invited, and you barged in uninvited only to slander and provoke us. Get out now. Seeing Secretary Chen angry, the three of them immediately fell silent. Lin Yuyu tugged at his sleeve and launched into her fake, high-pitched cutesy voice. Oh, leader, it was all just a misunderstanding before. Tang Qingyan is a bad person. That pufferfish that day was poisoned on purpose by her. I practiced at home so many times and everything turned out perfectly, so she must have tampered with it. We came here especially today to visit you because we wanted to make up for the regret you had that day. Don't worry. We'll definitely treat you to a feast. Secretary Chen pulled his sleeve free and paid no attention to what she was saying, instead turning around and speaking to me in a gentle, concerned tone about my injuries. Seeing this, the mother-in-law immediately shouted, so that's why Tang Qingyan was so bold. Turns out she'd already hooked up with some big-shot leader. Secretary Chen frowned deeply and immediately ordered the security guards to throw those three people out. Just then, his assistant rushed over to report, Secretary, the pufferfish you requested has been delivered. Hearing that, I waved the security guards off and told them to let go of the two of them. I curled my lips into a smile and said to Lin Yuyu, if you say you're going to show off your skills, then do you dare challenge me to a cook-off? Bring it on. I'm a culinary genius, just wait to lose. Lin Yuyu lifted her chin proudly, looking completely confident she had this in the bag. Secretary Chen frowned and glanced at me with concern. I gave him a slight shake of the head to reassure him. The rules of the contest were quickly set. Lin Yuyu and I would each prepare a fugu dish without help from anyone else, with Secretary Chen serving as the judge. After tasting them, he would decide whose dish tasted better. Lin Yuyu had no objections, but my mother-in-law was not happy about it. She stepped forward and said loudly, Hey, that's not fair. Who knows whether Tang Qingyan and Secretary Chen have an affair? What if the leaders are playing favorites? Secretary Chen gave her a cold look, barely holding back the anger and contempt in his eyes. Then what do you want? If you ask me, I should be one of the judges too. That way no one can play favorites or show bias, and it'll actually be fair and impartial. I sneered inwardly. So much for fair and impartial. In my view, she was just afraid Lin Yuyu would lose too badly, so she deliberately butted in. Sure, then mom can be a judge too. I agreed at once. Fugu is my specialty. I've never been afraid of anyone in the whole country, let alone some idiot who's only been learning cold dishes for 2 weeks. Just as I was about to reach into the tank to grab a fugu, Lin Yuyu stopped me again. Wait, if we're going to compete, there's got to be something at stake, right? What does the winner get, and what does the loser have to do? I raised an eyebrow and looked her over. Oh, then what do you want? Lin Yu counted on her fingers and said, if I win, Secretary Chen has to personally hold a press conference to introduce me to the whole country, acknowledge my abilities, and give me a bonus too. The amount can't be less than what an international Michelin competition offers. And also, lost in her fantasies, she kept talking more and more. But all she ever went on about was fame and fortune. Secretary Chen shook his head disdainfully and asked what I wanted. I curled my lips in disdain and said, if I win, I want a divorce from Xinlei, and I want the three of them to apologize to me. That's it. Secretary Chen looked at me, puzzled. I gave a light laugh and nodded to confirm that was all. In that moment, I could see admiration and respect almost overflowing from Secretary Chen's eyes. Xinlei shouted at me with his neck bulging, Tang Qingyan, don't worry. Win or lose, I'll definitely divorce you, but you're losing this time for sure. I just gave my ears a quick scratch and treated it like barking dogs. Soon the competition began, and I went straight for the best-looking pufferfish. Meanwhile, Lin Yu fumbled around, forcing herself to gut the fish. I, on the other hand, stayed perfectly calm and used all kinds of different tools to handle the pufferfish. Once the poison glands were removed, I started prepping the fish, carefully picking out the bones with a pair of tweezers. I've done this kind of cooking for 2 lifetimes now. Even with my eyes closed, I could guarantee I wouldn't make a single mistake. Comrade Chen, standing nearby, was amazed by how deft my hands were and kept nodding in praise. Xinlei and my mother-in-law clasped their 4 hands tightly together, occasionally sneering at me with disdain. I put all the ingredients into the pot, added water, and let them stew. Turning around, I saw Lin Yu drenched in sweat, tasting each one with her tongue to tell which was sugar and which was salt. Then she tasted one and sprinkled a little into the pot, pouring in soy sauce, vinegar, and MSG. A cold smile tugged at the corners of my mouth. And you want to learn how I make my fresh braised pufferfish without even knowing the most basic principles? The key to the word fresh is the ingredient's natural flavor. It's not some random mix of seasonings. I only add salt to bring out the flavor in my soup. Before long, it was time for the competition, and we each carried our pufferfish dishes before Secretary Chen. I was sure I had this in the bag, but then Lin Yu lifted the lid of her clay pot. I was shocked. I never expected her to improve this much in just a few days. Just by the looks of it, Lin Yu's freshly stewed pufferfish didn't look like the work of a clueless amateur at all. Seeing my eyes widen, she only looked even more pleased with herself. What's wrong, Sister Tang? Are you so scared you've frozen up? Never seen pufferfish cooked this skillfully before, have you? She shot me a smug glance, and Xinlei and my mother-in-law were laughing wildly too. Ha ha ha, Tang Qingyan, you're about to lose for good. I told you long ago that Yu is a culinary genius. She's worlds apart from a loser like you, who can only scrape together a little success through sheer effort. I snorted coldly and lifted the lid of my pot. Secretary Chen hasn't even tried it yet. What dog is barking so shamelessly? Though from the looks of it, what Lin Yu made was about 80% convincing. I can guarantee she could never copy the taste. Unexpectedly, when Lin Yu saw my soup, she burst out laughing. Sister Tang, I could tell just now you only added a bit of salt. That's hilarious. I told you can't make pufferfish, and you still wouldn't admit it. Your soup is just a pale, tasteless white. Even the color is unlucky. Are you trying to curse Secretary Chen or something? Xinlei burst out laughing too. I'm her husband, wouldn't I know? She just can't do it. At this level, she can only fool people who don't know any better. Someone like Secretary Chen, with his status, would taste it and know right away. Only Yo-Yo's puffer fish is truly the most delicious. Because the mother-in-law was serving as a judge, she couldn't openly put the dish down, but her expression said more than enough. They took turns bad-mouthing my cooking, but Secretary Chen paid no attention. He had already picked up an empty bowl, waiting to taste my freshly stewed pufferfish. His eyes were shining with barely concealed anticipation as he picked up the ladle and was just about to serve himself. Unexpectedly, Lin Yu grabbed his hand and stopped him. Boss, you have to taste mine first. Secretary Chen had already worked up saliva in his mouth, but she threw everything into chaos and broke his mood, making him frown in displeasure. The mother-in-law immediately stepped forward and shoved Secretary Chen aside with her big backside. To keep things fair, I'll go first. My mother-in-law first ladled out a bowl of the fish soup I made. After taking one sip, her pupils visibly widened. Delicious, but of course, she couldn't show it. She quickly finished the bowl, putting on a look of disgust. She kept shaking her head and even pouted, "What is this? It has no flavor at all." Then, still wearing a fake smile, she scooped up a full bowl of Lin Yuyu's fish soup, slowly tasted it, and put on an expression of pure enjoyment. Now this is a real delicacy. It's absolutely delicious. The fish is tender and the broth is so fragrant." As she said this, she deliberately put on an exaggerated expression for Secretary Chen to see. At last, she finished tasting it, and Secretary Chen immediately ladled out a bowl of my fish soup. He had been waiting for this moment for a long time. The moment the fish soup hit his mouth, it felt as if tens of thousands of fireworks had gone off in his head all at once. After standing there dazed for 3 seconds, savoring the deliciousness, Secretary Chen downed 2 more bowls at lightning speed before finally feeling satisfied. Lin Yuyu was so anxious she kept stomping her feet in place. "Secretary Chen, please try mine too." Alright, I'll have a taste." Secretary Chen slowly and reluctantly picked up the soup spoon. It was obvious that the last poisoning incident had left him with quite a psychological scar. Hands trembling, he lifted the fish soup. The moment the spoon was just about to touch his lips, the mother-in-law suddenly collapsed to the floor with a loud thud. It wouldn't stop twitching. It scared Secretary Chen so badly that he immediately dropped the bowl in his hand. What's going on here?" I stepped forward to reassure Secretary Chen not to worry and promised him there was absolutely nothing wrong with the fish soup I had made. Watching her mother-in-law thrash on the floor like a fish hauled out of water, Lin Yuyu's face went pale. She immediately burrowed back into Shenlei's arms and cried out, "What do we do, Shinji? What's wrong with Godmother?" "There's no way there's anything wrong with the fish soup I made. Don't be afraid, it must be Tang Qingyan's fish soup that's poisoned." Even with his mom like that, Shenlei still had the nerve to comfort that fake, delicate little childhood sweetheart. TSK, what a hopelessly devoted fool. "Are you blind?" Secretary Chen drank 2 bowls of my fish soup and nothing happened. "Whose soup has a problem? Are you checking with your ass?" Lin Yuyu pouted and hurried to argue back. "Impossible, I practiced at home many times. I've long since mastered how to handle pufferfish toxin. Why would it turn poisonous when I made it here? It must be you vile woman, who did this to me. You're jealous that I learned how to steal your spotlight. Did you poison my soup?" Hearing that, I sneered inwardly. "Pufferfish aren't common fish. How could you just buy one casually at a wet market?" "Lin Yuyu, the fish you practiced on at home wasn't pufferfish at all. How could you possibly have really dealt with pufferfish toxin? Just now, your mother-in-law drank a whole bowl of fish soup and ate a lot of fish to support you. Instead of losing your minds, why don't you think about how to save her?" After saying that, I supported Secretary Chen and turned to leave, but then I heard my mother-in-law let out a pained wail. "Help, I don't want to die. Son, Yo-Yo, save me. I feel so awful." She clutched her throat and vomited everything she had just eaten all over the floor. Shenlei, that devoted son, and Lin Yuyu both pinched their noses and stepped away. I looked on coldly as my mother-in-law rolled around on the floor, as if I were looking at my former self in my past life. Shenlei and Lin Yuyu were just as cold, standing by with folded arms. The difference is, I wasn't the one who poisoned my mother-in-law, and the one who poisoned people twice with pufferfish venom was Lin Yuyu. Shenlei held the terrified, sobbing Lin Yuyu and kept comforting her, completely ignoring the fact that the woman writhing and vomiting on the floor was his own mother. What a devoted son. Indeed, seeing that I still said nothing, Shenlei didn't forget to order me around. "Tang Qingyan, aren't you some kind of blowfish expert? Hurry up and take out the antidote for my mom. She's your mother-in-law." I let out a derisive laugh. "Oh, so now I'm the expert. Wasn't Lin Yuyu the culinary genius? Do you think antidotes are sold wholesale at some little corner store? If someone poisoned her, go find the person who did it, please. Honey, that's my mother. You can't just stand there and watch her die." As he said that, Shenlei actually let go of Lin Yuyu and tried to come hug me, so I flung out my hand and shoved him away. "What good is begging me? I'm a cook, not a doctor. I suggest you call 120 right now. You might still make it." I turned and left the villa without looking back, leaving behind one final remark. "By the way, I'll mail you the divorce agreement directly. Make sure you sign for it." Later, I heard that Shenlei called an ambulance that day, but his mother didn't make it to the hospital before she died, which enraged Shenlei so much that he beat Lin Yuyu right there in the ambulance. The ambulance that was originally meant to rush grandma to the hospital was redirected to save Lin Yuyu. So furious he couldn't stand it, Shenlei even sued his beloved childhood sweetheart for intentional homicide. Covered in wounds, Lin Yu immediately countersued Shenlei for malicious assault. The two of them ended up behind bars together. While the poor grandmother who died miserably didn't even have anyone to arrange her funeral, and not only did I successfully get the divorce papers, I also got all of Shenlei's assets from his affair during the marriage. Just like in my previous life, Secretary Chen publicly awarded me the title of the most beautiful cook, and even paid out of his own pocket to open a 5-star hotel for me in Yunnan. I happily became the boss, only needing to show up now and then and showcase my skills at state banquets. When Shenlei was released from prison, he heard that I had already risen to great success. He had the nerve to shamelessly come looking for me again, but he couldn't even get close enough to see me, because my status was now on par with the leaders. I had more than a dozen bodyguards around me, all there to keep out people like him. Then my phone suddenly lit up with a message. I curled my lips into a smile and Secretary Chen, while on a business trip in Xinjiang, sent a text message. Old Tang, I'm craving fish. The end. That wraps up the first story for now. Don't go anywhere, because the next one is even more exciting. I risked my life to save my fiancé, Su Yifan, after he fell into the water because we had physical contact in the water. Su Yifan, who had originally planned to break off the engagement, had no choice but to marry me. I cared for him for 30 years and gave him a healthy, intelligent son, but Su Yifan never loved me. He only thought I had saved him all those years ago as part of a scheme to marry him. So after his beloved died, Su Yifan made the decisive choice to end his own life and follow her in death. My son believed that I had refused to step aside, causing Su Yifan a lifetime of suffering, and he wanted revenge on me. He poured my quick-acting heart pills down the drain and let me die in agony. When I opened my eyes again, I went back to the day Su Yifan fell into the water. This time, I didn't save him. Instead, I went to find my father's comrade's son. You promised my dad you'd take care of me for the rest of my life. Does that promise still count? Someone get down there and save Yifan, or someone's really going to die. Yeah, Yifan can't swim. I was totally dazed and had no idea what was going on. It just felt like I was being shoved and prodded forward the whole time until a blast of cold wind hit me and I realized I was standing by the river, taking off my padded coat, about to jump into the water in the dead of winter to save Su Yifan. Seeing the slogans by the roadside and the way everyone was dressed, I quickly realized that I had been reborn. I had gone back to the day I saved Su Yifan 30 years ago in my previous life. To save him, I jumped into the freezing river and nearly drowned before I managed to pull him ashore. Once we were on land, the people on the bank jeered, saying things like "the beauty saves the hero," and accusing us of clinging to each other in the river and behaving indecently. For the sake of our reputation. On top of that, Su Yifan and I already had a marriage arrangement, so the Su family came to propose soon after. It wasn't until after we got married that I learned Su Yifan never liked me at all. He had originally planned to talk to me a few days later about calling off the engagement, and even his falling into the water was just so he could catch fish for his beloved, Dangsini. After I found out, I cried and made a scene, but in the end I still believed that love would grow over time. I believed Su Yifan would eventually truly fall in love with me. I took care of his daily life, looked after his parents, and even bore him a smart son. But his suicide for love hit me like a ton of bricks. It turns out that for Su Yifan, the past 30 years of my life were nothing but a joke, and only when I was dying did I realize that a human heart can be warmed, but a block of ice can never be warmed. If you force yourself to warm it, you'll only end up freezing myself. With that thought in mind, I buttoned up my thick cotton coat again. Just as I was about to leave, I noticed that Sui, who should have still been unconscious, suddenly woke up and swam skillfully to the shore. I couldn't help frowning. At this point in my previous life, Su Yifan couldn't swim at all. He only learned after he married me. Before I could think it through, Su Yifan had already gotten ashore. Seeing me staring at him, he walked up to me trembling all over, his face brimming with excitement. You think I'd still give you a chance to latch onto me? I've worked hard at swimming for years, and at last heaven has opened its eyes and given me a chance to save myself. I understood then, so I wasn't the only one who had been reborn. Hearing that, I let out a cold smile. Didn't you see I was about to leave? If you hadn't stopped me, I'd already be home by now. Only then did Su Yifan realize that I had my padded jacket on just fine and had never intended to jump into the water. His face was a little embarrassed, and he was itching to argue with me a bit more, but a cold gust of wind hit him and made him shiver uncontrollably. Embarrassed and irritated, he said, with a perfectly justified air, "Hurry up and take off your padded coat. Can't you see I'm about to freeze to death?" I let out a cold snort and said to the onlookers, "Would anyone kind enough be willing to give Su Yifan a padded coat to keep warm? He's forcing me, a young lady, to take off my clothes in public. I'm really too embarrassed." Everyone burst out laughing, each person chattering over the others, saying things like Su Yifan had no shame. Su Yifan was a college student and a teacher, and his life had always gone smoothly. He had never been mocked before. He frowned, but soon put on a smile. "I just nearly drowned and died, but my fiancé stood by and did nothing to help. A woman like that, I would never marry again, so please be my witnesses. I want to break off my engagement to Qin Yutong. From now on, our marriages and weddings have nothing to do with each other." Even after saying that, everyone couldn't help but find it a little strange, and they all started murmuring among themselves. "Yifan just fell into the water. Why didn't you jump in after him, Yutong? Aren't you a good swimmer?" "Yeah, I just saw you getting ready to take off your clothes and jump in. If my fiancé stood by and did nothing while someone was drowning, I'd be heartbroken too. I wasn't about to earn a bad reputation the moment I was reborn. So I didn't panic at all. Instead, I turned to look at Su Yifan. "Su Yifan, what nonsense are you talking about? You want me to jump in and save you, but you can clearly swim, and you're even really good at it. What's the point of me going down there?" Hearing that, Su Yifan was a little embarrassed too, but he still gritted his teeth and said, "Anyway, Qin Yutong saw me fall into the water and just stood by as if nothing were just happening. I've seen enough. There's no way I'm marrying a woman like this again. I have to call off the engagement." At first, everyone thought Su Yifan was just saying he wanted to cancel the engagement in the heat of the moment. After all, he could swim, and he was perfectly fine now. There was really no need to make such a big deal out of it and go as far as breaking off the engagement. So once he said that, even the people who had just been defending Su Yifan thought it was going too far. "Evan, you got yourself ashore just fine. How can you say Yutong stood by and did nothing? Don't tell me you've been wanting to call off the engagement all along and are just using this as an excuse. Besides, Yutong's just a girl. She can't be jumping into icy water in this weather. She'll get sick." Hearing that I'd end up falling ill made my nose sting with emotion. In my past life, I was the one who plunged into the icy winter water to save Su Yifan. As a result, my once healthy body became extremely weak. Every time I had my period, I was in agony, and even my fertility was badly affected. I had given him so much, yet Su Yifan always thought his falling into the water had been my scheme, that I had deliberately waited for the right moment to save him, and that I had done it on purpose to force him to marry me. Thinking back on everything that had happened, I immediately nodded. "Fine, the engagement is off. Please all bear witness to this. Today it was Su Yifan who refused to honor the engagement and marry me, not that I changed my mind." After saying that, I left the riverbank without the slightest hesitation. I jogged all the way home. My mom must have heard about what happened by the river, so she was already waiting there, leaning on her cane with a worried look on her face. Standing at the door, I looked at her and felt nothing but heartache. I couldn't help calling out in a choked-up voice, "Mom." My mom is blind, so her hearing is especially sharp. She immediately heard that I was crying. "Tong Tong, don't cry, take Mom to the Su family and Mom will talk to Yifan properly. I'll make sure the engagement continues." "No, I don't want to marry Su Yifan anymore. He doesn't even like me, and I won't be happy if I marry him." I put my mom. She helped her into the living room and had her sit down in a chair. My mom sighed, "But if you don't marry Yifan, you'll be sent down to the countryside." Sigh. "In the end, I'm the one who's held you back. In my last life, Su Yifan and I were a pair of bitterly mismatched spouses. And my mother spent no small amount of time worrying about our troubles. Even on her deathbed, she kept saying, 'It's all Mom's fault that I held you back, otherwise you wouldn't have had to marry Su Yifan.' The reason she said that was because if I didn't marry Su Yifan, I'd have been sent to the countryside. Actually, I hadn't originally been supposed to go to the countryside, but when my father was away, my uncles on my father's side took over the factory job slot my family was supposed to get, leaving me. I had no choice but to go to the countryside, and because of that, my mom felt she hadn't been able to protect me and had only become a burden to me. She's been heartbroken ever since. And Su Yifan is a teacher. If I married him, I could enjoy special privileges and wouldn't have to go to the countryside. Precisely because of that, Su Yifan would think I married him not because I loved him, but just to avoid going to the countryside. It's not that I'm afraid of going to the countryside or unwilling to go, but my mom is in poor health and also blind. If I left, she'd probably have to be. My dad's relatives hounded him to death. Thinking of that, I started to worry a little too. I felt a bit anxious, torn between my mom and the hard years of the past 30 years, still vivid in my mind. Just as I was at a loss, I heard a cough and the sound of water being poured outside the door. The moment I saw who it was, my eyes lit up. Right, oh, him too. The person who'd arrived was Wei Jiehui. He was the son of my father's comrade. My father had once saved Wei Jiehui's father on the battlefield, and after Wei Jiehui's parents passed away, I repeatedly helped Wei Jiehui along the way. When my father passed away, Wei Jiehui knelt before him and bowed deeply several times, saying, "Uncle Qin, don't worry, go ahead. I'll take care of Sister Yutong and Auntie for the rest of my life." Back then, I thought he was just saying it casually, but I never expected him to really start looking after my mom and me, and even stay unmarried for life. In the previous, if it weren't for his sworn brother, who was a specially recruited skilled worker, backing me up, I'm afraid Su Yifan, now so successful and accomplished, would have kicked me out long ago. Besides, Wei Jiehui is a specially recruited skilled worker. If I married him, I could still stay and work in the factory without having to go down to the countryside. Thinking of this, I hurried into the courtyard, but Wei Jiehui had already filled the water tank and left quietly. I didn't catch up with him. Instead, I turned and headed out to the pharmacy. I picked up a few packets of medicine for coughs and wind cold and walked out of the pharmacy, only to run straight into Su Yifan. When he saw what was in my hands, he let out a cold snort. "Weren't you just so tough about calling off the engagement? What do you mean by buying me these medicines now?" It looked like Su Yifan thought I was buying the medicine for him. I couldn't be bothered to deal with him, so I turned and left with the medicine in hand. But Su Yifan suddenly reached out and grabbed me. "Come to my place later. Cindy is waiting for me at home right now, and I don't want you." And there you go again, bullying Cindy. "As for this medicine, I'll accept it, but only because this is something you should have done anyway. If you hadn't taken off your coat and given it to me, I wouldn't have caught a cold." I really wanted to give Su Yifan a good scolding, but I know exactly what he's like. The more I say, the more he'll think I couldn't be bothered to explain or cover for him, so I just shot him a glare, shook off his hand, and left right away. After I got home, I carefully brewed the medicine and then knocked on Wei Jiehui's door. Wei Jiehui coughed a few times as he came over and opened the door. "Yutong, what brings you here? Is something wrong at home?" "Hold on, wait a second. I'll grab a coat and be right over." I shook my head and handed him the medicine. "Yesterday, when you came to deliver water, I heard you coughing. You're still young, but you really need to be careful. If it turns into a lung disease, that'll be bad." As I said that, I couldn't help but feel my face heat up. Wei Jiehui was completely stunned, not knowing for a moment whether he should take the medicine or say thank you, or let me in. I didn't beat around the bush and said it straight out. "When my dad passed away, you said you'd take care of me for the rest of my life. Does that promise still count? Does that promise still count?" Wei Jiehui nodded without hesitation. "Of course it counts." I let out a breath of relief. "Okay, if you're going to take care of me for the rest of my life, then let's get our marriage registered. Otherwise, if you get married, how are you supposed to take care of me?" Although Wei Jiehui never got married in his last life, and he was always very good to me, I still couldn't be sure that the reason he didn't marry was because of me, and even less could I be sure that he would definitely marry me. So after saying it, I was still a little worried, but Wei Jiehui didn't hesitate at all. He took the medicine from my hand and gulped it down in one go. "Fine, whatever you say. When are we getting married?" Of course I wanted it as soon as possible, otherwise, who knew what kind of trouble Su Yifan would stir up next, so I immediately said, "Let's go get the marriage certificate right now." Wei Jiehui stared at me for a while. It was clear he had something he wanted to ask, but in the end he said nothing and just walked out of the room. He took out his ID card. "Okay, let's go now." In this way, Wei Jiehui and I quickly got our marriage certificate. Since he didn't have many relatives on his side, and all the relatives on my side we didn't get along very well, so instead of holding the wedding banquet right away, we first arranged a time to come to the factory and handle the entry procedures. After all, if I lost my spot any later, I'd have gotten married for nothing. Just as the paperwork was halfway done, a commotion suddenly broke out outside. Before long, Su Yifan came in with Deng Sini and directly pushed open the door and stormed into the office, grabbing the factory director's hand and saying loudly, "Director, you can't process her entry into the factory." The factory director was so startled he jumped. Before the director could even speak, Su Yifan walked up to me and, almost pointing straight at my nose, said, "Qin Yutong, Could you please have some decency? I've made myself perfectly clear, I want to break off our engagement, there's no relationship between us anymore, so what gives you the right to take up the job slot at the factory that was meant for my future wife? The factory director stood up. Yifan, just listen to me first. Su Yifan obviously didn't want to hear it. Director, I know you think Qin Yutong's family situation makes her unsuitable to be sent to the countryside, but she doesn't want to go to the countryside, that's her business. She shouldn't be taking my wife's factory slot, should she? I'm innocent too. I can't ruin my whole life for someone who has nothing to do with me. I found it laughable I took care of someone who didn't want to work for a full 30 years, and in the end, I'm the one who doesn't want to work. I sighed and was just about to explain when the factory director spoke first. Yifan, don't get worked up. Qin Yutong's spot at the factory has nothing to do with you. She was able to get into the factory because her husband is one of our plant's specially required technical workers, so she fully qualifies for the preferential policy. Su Yifan froze. What lever? What special technical expert? How could she possibly marry someone else? Only after saying that did Su Yifan belatedly notice that there was actually another man standing beside me. His gaze slowly moved downward. It wasn't until he saw mine and Wei Jiehui's tightly clasped hands that he finally realized what was going on. Impossible. Qin Yutong could never marry anyone but me. I'm the only one in her heart. She loves only me, and she'd even die for me. Why, how could I possibly marry someone else? This was definitely a sham marriage she arranged just to get into the factory. Don't forget, Wei Jiehui is nothing but a dog of the Qin family. But if you help her get into the factory, then you're complicit, you're exploiting a loophole in the policy. Honestly, this was the first time I'd ever seen Su Yifan looking this frenzied. Even in my previous life, when Deng Xini got married, he wasn't this agitated. I was a little confused. What was he getting so worked up about? Whether I went into the factory or not had nothing to do with him. In fact, if I did go in, it would only better ensure that I won't bother him anymore. Why would he do that? I couldn't make sense of it, and I didn't want to guess either. I just said to Wei Jiehui, "Honey, show him our marriage certificate. Take a look." Wei Jiehui hummed in response and readily took out our marriage certificate. The big official seal on it proves that Wei Jiehui and I are indeed legally married, and my entering the factory is fully in line with the procedures and policies with absolutely no issue. I thought Su Yifan would leave once I took out the marriage certificate, but after seeing it, he completely lost it. So what if the marriage certificate is real? Qin Yutong only married you to avoid being sent down to the countryside. You're not really husband and wife at all. Qin Yutong has only ever had me in her heart. She married you just to use you. You've been fooled. You've been deceived by this woman. You don't even know how dark her heart really is. I wanted nothing more than to rush over and rip Su Yifan's mouth apart, but Deng Xini, who was beside him, was even faster than me. She tugged at Su Yifan's sleeve. "Brother Yifan, don't say things like that. You'll end up causing trouble between Sister Yutong and Brother Jiehui." Su Yifan jerked Deng Xini's hand away. "Shut up, you don't know what's going on at all. Qin Yutong can't marry anyone else. She's my wife." It was the first time Deng Xini had ever been pushed away by Su Yifan. Embarrassed and flustered, her expression changed as she said, "Even if Yutong once went to any lengths to marry you, that doesn't mean she wouldn't change her mind. Besides, she originally only wanted to marry you so she could get into the factory, so of course she could just as easily marry someone else for the same reason." The only one to feel sorry for his brother Jiehui. Hearing this, Su Yifan suddenly rushed up to Wei Jiehui again and said, "She was willing to jump into the river and save me just so she could marry me, forcing me to marry her. How did she force you? Did she strip naked and cling to you too, making you take responsibility?" "You're talking nonsense." Before I could finish, Wei Jiehui punched Su Yifan. "I married Yutong because I love her. I was the one begging her to marry. What you gave me was nowhere near what you said it was. If you dare say another word of nonsense, I won't just give you one punch." Su Yifan looked utterly disbelieving as he muttered, "How is that possible? How could she possibly marry someone else?" Wei Jiehui couldn't be bothered to deal with him. He just held my hand and asked the factory director, "Director, if the paperwork isn't finished yet, I'll come back next time. I don't want my wife getting upset over something like this." The director naturally wanted to keep things from blowing up, so he hurriedly said, "Just sign here and you can go. Everything's already been taken care of." The whole thing blew up big time, and everyone found out about my marriage to Wei Jiehui, as well as the fact that Su Yifan had lost it when he learned about it. Me getting married, people were talking about it everywhere. And what started as two men fighting over one woman slowly turned into people accusing me of straddling both sides and being unfaithful. To put an end to people's gossip, Wei Jiahui used his savings to throw a grand wedding banquet, and at the banquet he looked at me with deep affection. As the saying goes, a girl in a family is sought after by many suitors. Truth be told, I've always loved Yutong, but Yutong is a loyal woman, because she has a marriage engagement with Su Yifan, so you never even glanced at me. Luckily, the heavens were on my side and let me wait until they broke off the engagement. The moment it was called off, I went straight to her family to ask for her hand in marriage. After all, such an amazing wife. If I'd hesitated even for a second, someone else might have snatched her away. Thanks to Wei Jiahui's words, no one would say a bad word about me anymore. Instead, they started mocking Su Yifan for being indecisive and acting anything but like a man. After the wedding, my mom and I moved into Wei Jiahui's house. He was incredibly good to me. And at first he even said he'd sleep on the floor on our wedding night. In the end, I had to tug and drag him onto the bed. Not long after, we became a real married couple, and that was when I realized that marriage could be this sweet and happy, unbelievably so. But the kinder he was to me, the more guilty I felt. I couldn't bear it any longer, so I went to find him and tell him the truth. But Wei Jiahui shook his head. You don't need to explain anything. No matter why you married me, I'm still very happy. After hearing that, I naturally had nothing else to say. All I could think was that I would spend the rest of my life slowly proving my love for him. Things were going wonderfully on my side, but things weren't going so well for Su Yifan. We only found out through the neighbors. It turned out that Su Yifan had been drinking at the wedding banquet that day, and on the way back he fell off his bicycle. Embarrassed, he didn't go to the hospital. In the end, the pain became unbearable, and when he finally went to the hospital, he learned that he'd broken a bone. Because so much time had passed, the broken bones had already started healing on their own, so now they have to be broken and reset all over again. It's excruciating and exhausting time. As soon as this happened, everyone thought I was a femme fatale again. To be fair, they weren't entirely wrong. Either way, this matter had something to do with both Wei Jiahui and me. If it weren't for coming to attend it was his wedding, but if he hadn't been so afraid of being laughed at, he wouldn't have had to suffer like this. But in my view, he had only himself to blame. But Wei Jiahui didn't see it that way. He bought some fruit and took it home. After all, he fell because he drank our alcohol. Let's go and check on him. I refused without a second thought. People are already gossiping. If I go, it'll only make things look worse. He broke his leg. Whether you break your leg or crack your head open, it's none of my business. And I already told you, I'm going to be your wife in the future. I have nothing to do with Su Yifan. Wei Jiahui nodded repeatedly. I know, but if we don't go, people will say we're still holding a grudge, so I'll go with you. Let's go see it openly and confidently. That way, people will think even more that we have nothing to hide. Although I didn't want to go, I eventually agreed to Wei Jiahui. After all, some things really did need to be made clear. After that, we'd go our separate ways and have nothing to do with each other ever again. When I arrived at the Su family's house, Wei Jiahui was waiting for me at the door and asked me to go in to see Su Yifan. Just as I was about to knock, I heard a voice from inside. I heard Su Yifan and Deng Xinyi's voices. I couldn't decide whether to knock and go in or leave first. In my previous life, I often caught Su Yifan and Deng Xinyi alone together. Every time, I'd get jealous and rush in, ruining everyone's mood. Quickly, I was about to leave, but then I thought that if I left like this, I'd have to come back next time. While I was hesitating, the voices inside grew louder. Su Yifan's voice sounded a little weak, but very firm. Xinyi, now that my engagement to Qin Yutong is off as well, she's married too, shouldn't our wedding plans be put on the agenda as well? Deng Xinyi burst out laughing. You don't actually think that if you don't marry Qin Yutong, I'll marry you, do you? Su Yifan was stunned for a long moment before he finally said, Xinyi, what do you mean by that? What do I mean? I've only been treating you like free labor, that's all. You should take a good look at your own family background. How could I possibly marry someone like you? To tell you the truth, I'm about to marry the factory director's son. I came here this time because I also wanted you to stop coming here in the future. You're really getting on my nerves. The only person who ever liked you was Qin Yutong. Su Yifan was on the verge of breaking down. That's impossible. You told me Qin Yutong married me just to get into the factory, and even falling into the water was Qin Yutong's doing. My heart sank with a thud. So in my previous life, Su Yifan was so certain that I had deliberately set her up. Because Dang Sini said so. Dang Sini snorted. What are you talking about? When did I ever say that? Besides, you fell into the water yourself. What does that have to do with Qin Yutong? Don't tell me she pushed you. After hearing that, Su Yifan started muttering to himself again. Dang Sini probably found it boring, so she simply stood up, opened the door, and saw me holding a basket of fruit standing at the doorway. She smiled toward the room and said, Qin Yutong is here. I'd advise you to stop dreaming of a frog trying to eat swan meat. Getting on Qin Yutong's good side is what you should be doing now. I walked in awkwardly. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, I just came to see you, and also to, before I could finish, Su Yifan suddenly looked up. His eyes red as he said, I'm sorry, Yutong, I'm sorry. My nose stung a little. I'd waited 30 years to hear those words, but at this moment, I truly didn't need them anymore. Seeing that I wasn't saying anything, Su Yifan sighed and went on, you were reborn too, weren't you? I knew even without you saying it, in my previous life, you jumped in without a second thought to save me, but this time, you turned around and left. I thought you were just playing hard to get, but now that I think about it, you must have been completely heartbroken over me, right? I gave a quiet but didn't say anything else. After all, he wasn't a 20-year-old kid anymore. He understood the warmth and coldness of human relationships better than anyone, so he knew that, whether in the previous life or this one, the only person who had truly treated him well was me. As for Dang Sini, she had always just treated him like a lapdog, him as nothing more than a lapdog. Su Yifan let out a sigh, his voice full of the weariness of experience. You really should be heartbroken. I clearly saved you, but I insisted that you were just trying to cash in on that favor. I treated you coldly for my entire life, and even spoke ill of you in front of our son, making him think you. No, you must have had it really rough. You must have wanted to hit me, curse me, hate me, right? I didn't know what to say. Insult him. There's not much to hate him for. After all, in my previous life, I was the one who clung to him and insisted on marrying him. Hate him. We'd both died once, and the past is the past. Besides, I'm newly married now, and I'm very happy with Wei Jiahui. I simply can't bring myself to hate anything or anyone, so I cut Su Yifan off. It's all in the past. I've moved on, and you should too. I put down the fruit and was about to leave when Su Yifan suddenly grabbed my hand. Yutong, I know I was wrong now. As they say, it's never too late to mend things after a loss. Can you forgive me? I jumped in fright and backed away repeatedly. Su Yifan, have you lost your mind? I'm married, and I'm very happy in my marriage right now. I love my husband very much. Su Yifan hadn't expected me to shake off his hand. After all, in my past life I loved him so much and always wanted to stay close to him. But Su Yifan always found me annoying, to the point that I could only wait until he was asleep in the middle of the night to hold his hand. He froze for a moment, then suddenly laughed. Yutong, don't I know you by now? You've always been so good to me. For my sake, you'd do anything. You can do it. Even if I hurt you 10,000 times, you'd never leave. You married Wei Jiahui just to get into the factory and avoid being sent to the countryside. I won't blame you for that. But if you keep playing hard to get like this, it'll lose its meaning. You can go back right now and divorce Wei Jiahui. After the divorce, I can still marry you, and that way everyone will. I knew it. You only married her to make me jealous. The one you really love is still me. I really overestimated Su Yifan. I thought he genuinely knew he was wrong. But now it seems he's only admitting it because nobody wants him right now. Su Yifan, my husband is right outside the door. I didn't even want to come see you at first. It was my husband who suggested I come over. Do you know why? Su Yifan was taken aback. Isn't it because you two are in a fake marriage? I shook my head. No, it's because we truly love each other. He trusts me, and I'll be faithful to him. As for you, Dang Sini, I don't want you. What makes you think I definitely want you? After saying that, I didn't give Su Yifan a chance to answer and hurried away. Over the next 6 months, time flew by. My relationship with Wei Jiahui also grew more and more stable, and my mom's health was getting better and better. Dang Sini and the factory director's son also had their wedding as scheduled. It was only on the wedding day that Su Yifan suddenly came over carrying a few fish and slapped them right into Dang Sini's face. Sini, didn't you say you wanted to eat the fish I caught myself? I brought them for you. Dang Sini was almost furious enough to die on the spot, but Su Yifan still thought that wasn't enough. He even snatched the microphone from the MC and said to the groom, "Hey, groom, you know what? Your wife is really good at playing around." That was way too modern for the groom to understand. But he did catch the mocking tone in Su Yifan's voice. What exactly do you mean? What do you mean? Su Yifan laid out everything that had happened between himself and Deng Sini over the years in painstaking detail, even describing the mole on Deng Sini's butt, described it in vivid, detailed fashion. I didn't know whether Su Yifan and Deng Sini had already gotten involved at this point, or if that happened years later. In any case, this grand wedding ended up turning into a farce. The groom's family left in fury, and the very next day they dragged Deng Xine off to file for divorce. Deng Sini's reputation had been completely ruined. With no other choice, she had to go to Su Yifan and ask him to marry her, but Su Yifan he humiliated her and then turned her down. This ultimately forced Deng Sini to hastily marry a divorced man who was in poor circumstances and more than 20 years older than her, after which the whole family leave here. After that, Su's father and mother started arranging blind dates for Su Yifan. After all, a man's reputation was never really affected by affairs like that. On top of that, Su Yifan was very well off, so after a few blind dates, I heard he was about to get married too. But one night, on my way home after getting off work, Su Yifan suddenly appeared in front of me and blocked my path. I looked at Su Yifan warily, frowning. What do you want? Su Yifan seemed to pull a ring out of thin air from his pocket. This is the ring my mom gave me. In my previous life, I should have given it to you, but I gave it to Deng Sini instead. This time, I won't give it to anyone else. Yutan, you don't need to keep pretending either. I know you still love me. After our last talk, I was indeed completely disheartened, but I know that after you heard about my blind date, you passed out right there in the workshop. That's enough to prove that I'm still in your heart. So that's what this was about. I rolled my eyes inwardly and touched my lower abdomen. You've got it wrong. I didn't faint because of you. It was because I was pregnant, and on top of that, I hadn't rested properly after the night shift, which is why I passed out. Su Yifan's face turned livid in an instant. How is that possible? How could you really be with Wei Jiehui? Did he force you? Right. Are you crazy? Wei Jiehui and I are legally married. Why would he need to force me? Su Yifan's hand holding the ring was trembling uncontrollably. But you loved me so much. Now I finally understand what's in my own heart. The reason we were given a second chance at life is because heaven gave me a chance to start over, so I could see Deng Sini clearly, and see you clearly too. We're the ones who were meant to be together. I sighed. Su Yifan, heaven gave us a second chance, not just you. Open your eyes and see clearly. I've come to see you clearly as well. Deng Sini, there's no way anything can happen between us. Su Yifan shook his head hard. I love you this much right now. How am I supposed to just let it go? Listening to all this, I couldn't help cringing. Let it go. I'm about to start showing, and you still haven't let it go. When Su Yifan heard me bring up the pregnancy again, his eyes lit up. I get it. You want me to go through the whole chasing my wife after screwing up fire pit arc, right? There's no way you could be pregnant right now. Your health is in terrible shape. How could you possibly get pregnant after just 6 months? Su Yifan wasn't wrong. In my previous life, I had a hard time getting pregnant. I took a lot of medicine and spent years before I finally got good news, but that was in my previous life. I let out a sigh. In my previous life, I had trouble conceiving because I jumped into the river to save you and damaged my health. It wasn't that I was naturally unable to get pregnant. You're a teacher yourself, so you're supposed to know a thing or two. Don't you know girls shouldn't be exposed to cold, or it can cause uterine cold and affect fertility? Su Yifan probably remembered now. I'd always been in perfect health before, and I never had menstrual cramps, but after I got married, I kept getting them. I told him over and over again that this was caused by being exposed to cold, but Su Yifan kept saying I was being melodramatic, that I was guilt-tripping him, and he never once thought to make me a bowl of brown sugar water or get me a heating pad. He never even considered that I was telling the truth. Su Yifan's face darkened even further. So you don't want me anymore, and you don't want our son either. I don't care that you're pregnant. I can treat your child as my own. I impatiently cut Su Yifan off. Son, he's not my son, he's your son. In my previous life, he drove me to my death. I don't want a son like that. Su Yifan was already dead by then, so of course he had no idea what his heartless son had done. But after all, that was his own son, just like him in every way, so he quickly believed me and knew I was telling the truth. He didn't know what to say, but he still didn't want to break up with me for good. In the end, he struggled out. For Wei Jiehui, you're pregnant, and he didn't even come pick you up from work. How is that treating you well? I pointed to the distance. He just went to buy me some wontons. You may not believe it, but I still need to tell you, my relationship with Wei Jiahui is really good. If heaven gave me a chance to start over, it was probably because it didn't want me to miss him again. After I said that, I ignored Su Yifan completely and slowly walked toward Wei Jiahui. Wei Jiahui looked more nervous than ever. Only after I kept pressing him did he finally say, I bought it a long time ago. I saw him propose to you, and I was really afraid that you'd say yes. I smiled and patted him on the head. Even if you say yes, I still won't. Wei Jiahui looked at me, as if he had finally convinced himself that I wouldn't leave him, although Su Yifan and I had cleared everything up. In the days that followed he still accompanied me to and from work every day. I also told him several times that there was no possibility between us anymore, but he only smiled and said, I know I'm not good enough for you. I just remembered that when you were pregnant in your past life, you once ran into a robbery. Back then, I couldn't protect you. So this time I want to protect you properly, although I had already said that Wei Jiahui would come pick me up. Su Yifan still said, then I'll protect you both. After all, if Wei Jiahui gets hurt, you'll definitely be heartbroken. I couldn't stop him, so every day everyone could see Wei Jiahui riding his bike with me on it, while Su Yifan followed behind, chasing after us. A few months later, I gave birth to a daughter. I had been so well cared for that the baby grew too big, and in the end I couldn't deliver her. She was only born by C-section. This nearly scared Wei Jiahui to death. He told no one and quietly went to the family planning clinic to get a vasectomy, and only told me after my condition had stabilized. It was only later that I learned I had suffered severe bleeding during my C-section. Luckily, Su Yifan had the same blood type as me and donated an extra large amount of blood, which saved my life. I had planned to thank him properly after I finished my confinement, but by the time I was done, I learned that he had gone to the far northwest to teach in a volunteer program. He left me a letter. The whole letter was filled with apologies. From the way it read, he had no intention of ever coming back in this lifetime. He said he failed to raise me well, our child, and hoped I would properly raise someone else's child, but maybe that's for the best. What he owed me in my past life could finally be considered fully repaid. Story 2. The poor student spilled milk on my clothes, and the next day, my childhood friend bullied her for me. I said it wasn't necessary, but I caught him cornering the girl again. Kiss you, and you'll let me go. Lu Xing smiled casually. What else? At this moment, I finally realized that we weren't on the same path. Half a month later, the poor student staged a self-directed scene of being bullied, and Lu Xing kicked over my desk. Shanine, are you crazy? Just because of a cup of milk before, is this necessary? I picked up my school bag expressionlessly. Sorry, I have an alibi. I was applying for a transfer yesterday, and I'll be leaving tomorrow. Lu Xing was a popular figure throughout our high school. He was tall, handsome, and so smart that he could still rank among the top 10 in the school without studying, and everyone knew that I was the only person he would never allow others to touch or provoke. Otherwise, there would be no good end. Shanine, do you think when Lu Xing will stop picking on that poor student? To corner Zhou Shaoli. He has skipped a week of classes already, right? The tip of my pen trembled. I looked up at the seat not far away. It was empty. I lowered my eyelids and replied indifferently, I don't know. The school bell rang at this moment. Holding the sorted exercise books, I walked out of the classroom with my deskmate, one in front and one behind. She was still chattering nonstop. TSK, well, it's true. I can't understand the mind of a wife-protecting maniac. I suddenly felt a bit of a bitter in my throat. Protection. A few days ago, when the poor student accidentally spilled milk on me, Lu Xing's face darkened on the spot. When he changed his school uniform for me, others were all reminding the poor student to apologize. It was just an accident. Do I still have to apologize? But my milk is quite expensive. She mumbled and didn't want to. Someone pulled her and whispered, you don't know how protective Lu Xing is of Shanine. If she's not happy, be careful that Lu Xing will kill you. Hearing this, she let out an "oh." She said sorry reluctantly, and Lu Xing helped me wipe the desk, not looking at her even once. From beginning to end, the whole class knew that I grew up with Lu Xing as childhood friends, and I was the person he cared about the most and was most determined to protect. But now, I gave a dry laugh and stopped my deskmate. Actually, Lu Xing and I aren't anything special. She was a bit confused. Seeing that I didn't continue, she followed my gaze and looked towards the school gate. In the alley not far away, Lu Xing and the poor student were standing very close. They said something, and the girl's breath almost hit Lu Xing's face. There were a lot of people passing by. If you didn't look carefully, they were in the shadow of the alley, and actually not very noticeable. The corner of Lu Xing's mouth curved into a smile, and his tone was casual. What else do you owe me today? We had an agreement. Zhou Xiaoli's face was red, and she didn't dare to look at him. She stood on tiptoe and quickly kissed his cheek. Damn. This, my deskmate was stunned. She couldn't help but exclaim in surprise just because of this sentence. Lu Xing turned his head and met my gaze. Our eyes crossed, and the air froze for a moment. The person beside me realized it later and covered her mouth. Sorry, you two talk. I didn't see anything. Then she fled away like the wind. I stroked the hair by my ear and really didn't know what to say. I smiled indifferently. What a coincidence. I'm going home too. Lu Xing's gaze landed on me lightly. He didn't say anything. We confronted each other in silence for 3 seconds. When I turned to leave, I heard Zhou Xiaoli's voice. Lu Xing, is she unhappy? Don't worry about her. My heart felt a bit sour at this moment. I suppressed it and quickened my pace. After knowing Lu Xing for 19 years, I suddenly found that he didn't seem to be the person in my memory anymore. 3 days ago, after knowing that he started targeting Zhou Xiaoli, I specifically explained to him, I don't care about such a small thing, but I do. He looked serious and said word by word, you're not in good health, and I won't let anyone bully you. We grew up together since we were kids, and this was the sentence he said to me the most. But it was also on that day I caught him cornering Zhou Xiaoli in the corner of the auditorium. Zhou Xiaoli was hiccuping from crying. Kiss you, and you'll let me go. Lu Xing changed his usual cold and distant look in front of others. He smiled casually. What else? I forgot how I left the auditorium. My legs were stiff, and my chest was so stuffy that I couldn't breathe. For the whole afternoon that followed, I couldn't focus on a single class. Later, I finally convinced myself that people change. Since we weren't on the same path, then we shouldn't walk together anymore in the future. During the morning self-study the next day, Lu Xing didn't come. Everyone was used to him skipping classes, but my deskmate paused. Not sure if she should ask, but she still asked, didn't you come to school with Lu Xing? Usually, I would enter the classroom at the same time as him. In summer, he would buy me breakfast, and in winter, he would prepare a hot water bag for me on the way in advance. This was something that everyone tacitly agreed on. But today I bypassed the road near his house. Seeing my hesitation, my deskmate was very perceptive and changed the topic. Hey, what do you plan to have for breakfast after the self-study later? When the self-study was over, Lu Xing came. He was holding a bag of warm cheese balls in his hand. God, don't you have to go a long way to buy these? Shanine, you're so lucky. Give me one, will you? Someone leaned towards me, but Lu Xing didn't even look at me. He put the bag of cheese balls in front of Zhou Xiaoli. Then he went back to his seat and started sleeping. There was a moment of silence all around. Did he put it in the wrong place? Did young Master Lu mistake someone because of his poor eyesight? Zhou Xiaoli's gaze fell on me and saw the girl who had just asked for one. She covered the mouth of the bag. Sorry, Lu Xing bought these for me. I won't share them with others. No one cared too much about her words. The hesitant gazes of everyone were all focused on me. Finally, someone couldn't help asking, did you two have a conflict? Can't be. Lu Xing usually can't wait to protect Shanine. How could he suddenly change? I wasn't too surprised since the truth was revealed. He didn't need to pretend anymore. The atmosphere around was a bit embarrassing. I couldn't make any expression and just took out my meal card from the desk compartment. We didn't have a conflict. I'll also explain to everyone, Lu Xing and I are just ordinary classmates. We have no other relationship at all. I went out after saying this. The school uniform that Lu Xing had covered his face with suddenly fell off. He lifted his eyelids and looked at me, his gaze cold and hard, fixed in midair. The subtle change between Lu Xing and me caught my mother's attention. For several days in a row, he didn't come to my house. He used to do homework with me, although he didn't do it himself, but he liked to prop up his chin and stare at me doing it, his fingers idly twirling the ends of my hair. I felt annoyed and would pat him. He would smile with his eyebrows raised, like a cunning fox. Are you done? Do you want to go for a walk outside? I pretended to be angry. Lu Xing, if you're not going to do it, don't disturb me, then you can just send me away. He propped himself up with the other hand. His tone was very cheeky, obviously knowing that I wouldn't do that. Sometimes I would write until very late. He would accidentally fall asleep lying on the side. When he left, at the door, he would stretch and wave at me with a smile. See you tomorrow. This was the relationship between Lu Xing and me. There was no clear expression of love. He lingered in my life, deliberately leaving his mark, and flamboyantly giving me all his preference. So, who wouldn't like such a person? I liked Lu Xing. I also carefully fantasized about the future with him over and over again. Maybe we would be together, or maybe after graduation, he would hold my hand solemnly and gently and confess to me. Thinking of this, Zhou Shali's face suddenly flashed in my mind. Lu Xing hugged her in his arms, smiled, and let her stand on tiptoe and get close to his lips. I suddenly closed my eyes, and my eyes were sore with pain. My mother was asking me, has Xiaoxing not walked home with you after school recently? Did you two quarrel? The teacher called Aunt Zhang and said that Xiaoxing is in a relationship. It can't be that you two. I shook my head and interrupted her. It's not with me. My mother was stunned for a moment and wanted to say something else. I suddenly looked up and asked her, a few days ago, didn't know one middle school in the city persuade me to transfer for the sake of the rate. I've thought about it, and I'll go. Before, Lu Xing told me that he hoped to stay by my side all the time. I also had the same hope as him, but now I had no reason to stay here anymore. Lu Xing and I tacitly started to keep our distance. His relationship with Zhou Shali was known to everyone in the past. Everyone had also guessed whether Lu Xing and I were together, but our interaction didn't cross the line, and those discussions only stayed at the level of speculation. It was different now. Lu Xing skipped classes and took Zhou Shali with him, and even the teacher knew about it. During the PE class, my deskmate suddenly rushed over. Shanine, Lu Xing is going to beat someone to death, go and stop him. I was slightly taken aback. A fight. I remembered that in the past, when Lu Xing fought with others, it was basically for me. I went there and found that Lu Xing had pressed the person on the opposite side against the wall, and both of their mouths were bleeding. He casually wiped it and raised his fist again. Let me ask you again, will you apologize to her? I fucking said it already. I didn't call her shoes tacky. Zhou Shali was hiding behind Lu Xing. She was sniffling. He clearly took an extra look at my shoes. Lu Xing was about to throw another punch, but out of the corner of his eye, he saw me and froze for a moment. I understood that he was doing it for Zhou Shali. Then I wouldn't disturb his moment of playing the hero to save the beauty. Just as I was about to leave, the person on the wall took advantage of Lu Xing's moment of distraction and kicked him away, grabbing me. I was suddenly shocked and recognized him as the well-known gang leader in the school. Yo, is this your childhood sweetheart? Dare to slander me and still hit me? Lu Xing, if you don't apologize to me today, I'll make her take a punch. He grabbed my arm tightly. I was a bit panicked. What does this have to do with me between you two? He ignored me. He looked at Lu Xing. Are you scared? I heard that you care about her a lot. Maybe I was too scared. At this moment, I had an inappropriate expectation of Lu Xing. If it were before, he would definitely try every means to protect me, but when the words of help were about to come out, I choked them back, because Lu Xing laughed first. You heard wrong, right? He lifted his eyelids and his gaze casually passed over me. Go ahead and hit her, but I won't let you off for what you did to Shali. I stared blankly as he wiped the tears off Zhou Shali's face and left. A curse came from above. Damn it, I don't believe it. The gangster gritted his teeth. He punched me in the face. I passed out. This punch was so painful. I never knew what it felt like to be hit. In my memory, Lu Xing had suffered many such injuries. Sometimes he fought for me, and sometimes he was beaten by his father for not studying. He would always come and ask me to help him put on medicine. It hurts a lot. Shanine, don't you feel sorry for me? He looked pitiful when he said this. My heart was beating so fast. While applying iodine to him, I asked, can you study hard so that your father won't hit you? Lu Xing fell silent. I only asked such a question once on that day. The atmosphere between Lu Xing and me became uncharacteristically low. Later, I found out Lu Xing's parents had actually divorced a long time ago, and they even had their own lovers respectively, but for Lu Xing's sake, they still pretended to be on good terms. Since Lu Xing discovered all this, he started fighting, skipping classes, and even staying out all night, telling everyone to leave him alone. After knowing this, I never persuaded him to study hard again. He had his own way of fighting against the world. He seemed to lack a lot of security and would ask me, Shanine, if I can't get into a good university like you in the future, will you ignore me? I shook my head. No, you'll always have me by your side. The dream ended here. It seemed that there were people arguing in my ears. Listening to the voice, it was Lu Xing's father. What are you thinking about? Every day, even if you don't study, you just watched someone beat Enin like this. Lu Xing's mother was crying beside him. Why have you become like this, son? Enin fell downstairs when she was a child, and you know she has a concussion. Didn't you always say that you would protect your sister? Lu Xing, who had been silent, suddenly clicked his tongue impatiently. He kicked over the things at his feet. Damn it, what protection? Isn't she a person? Does she need me to protect her? Lu Xing's father slapped him hard on the face. His voice was shaking with anger. That Zhou Shali, is she worth you stepping in for her? Lu Xing smiled softly. Yeah, she's willing to skip classes with me and fight with me. What is Shanine? It was noisy all around, and I opened my eyes. My head hurt so much a tear fell from the corner of my eye onto the pillow. I finally knew that Lu Xing liked Zhou Xiaoli because of this, as for the many years we had accompanied each other in our lives. In the end, it was all for nothing. My mother found that I was awake. She had been keeping her head down all the time, and she quickly stood up to support me. My gaze landed on Lu Xing the moment our eyes met. He turned his face away. His expression was a bit unnatural. Don't you apologize to Yinyin. Lu Xing's father pulled him to the front of my hospital bed. Lu Xing didn't say anything. I saw him clenching his fists tightly, and his face was filled with defiance. I had never seen Lu Xing like this before. He always used to look at me with a smile. I suddenly felt a bit sad. I thought, it would be great if I had never known Lu Xing. If we were strangers, I might not be so sad, but clearly, it was him who cared about my poor health, and it was also him who made me take that punch. Now, it was him who stood there indifferently and called me nothing. Speak, Lu Xing, you used to have such a good relationship with Yinyin. Now, I'm asking you to apologize. What's your attitude? Lu Xing stayed still, unwilling to yield to his parents. I suddenly felt that all this was so ironic. I smiled calmly. No need to apologize. Can you let him go? Lu Xing's eyes trembled, and he looked a bit shocked. Lu Xing and I had never had such a tense atmosphere between us before. I repeated it again. Get out. Don't stay in my hospital room. At this moment, Lu Xing hesitated instead. I didn't know what he was thinking. Perhaps, for him, Zhou Xiaoli, who skipped classes with him, was the youth that belonged to him. That was fine. From now on, we would never interfere in each other's lives again. I was hospitalized for a week before going back to school. My concussion recurred, and I had to wear a brace. I did this just to not fall behind in my studies. After all, in 2 more days, I would transfer to another school. Zhou Xiaoli brought a pack of candies to me and put them on my desk. She smiled and said, Shanine, before Lu Xing left you in the hands of that gangster, I'm apologizing to you on his behalf. I didn't even raise my head. No need. She let out an awe in surprise. Shanine, are you being so petty? But I saw that the gangster didn't use much force at that time. Could it be that you like Lu Xing and pretended to faint just to make him care about you? I frowned and looked at her. Not far away, Lu Xing was lazily leaning against the back of the chair, and his gaze was vaguely fixed in this direction. Before I could speak, Zhou Xiaoli suddenly smiled again. Oops, I'm just kidding. After all, Lu Xing said that he only sees you as his sister, and you're quite a burden. She was deliberately showing off to me. It seemed that she cared a lot about Lu Xing's attitude towards me in the past. I twirled the pen cap, too annoyed to pay attention to her. As long as you're happy. As soon as I finished speaking, Zhou Xiaoli's eyes suddenly turned red. Her voice became choked up. Shanine, I sincerely apologize to you. Why do you always talk back to me? Is it? She looked at the candies on the desk, and tears streamed down her face. Do you think I'm poor and look down on the candies I bought? As soon as she started crying, Lu Xing came over. He protected her behind him and said coldly, Shanine, if you have something against me, come at me. What kind of person are you to bully her? Bully her? I was so speechless that I laughed. Then I grabbed the pack of candies on the desk and turned around to throw it into the trash can behind. See that? That's what bullying is. Zhou Xiaoli cried even more bitterly and burrowed into Lu Xing's arms. Lu Xing didn't say anything. He just stared at me with a heavy gaze. Before the afternoon class, I suddenly found another pack of candies on my desk. It was the brand that I had been eating since I was a child. I turned my head, and Lu Xing was leaning against the back door, lazily lifting his eyelids. It's the one you like. Consider it my apology. Okay. I stared into his eyes. I turned around and threw it together with Zhou Xiaoli's pack of candies. I don't want it. Leave me alone. The university I had always wanted to get into was Fudan University. Throughout the 3 years of high school, my grades had always been stable among the top 3 in the grade. I had won a lot of awards in various competitions, big and small. Entering no one middle school in the city would give me a greater chance of being recommended for admission. For the remaining time, I deliberately avoided Lu Xing and Zhou Xiaoli. I was basically in the office after class, but Lu Xing seemed to skip classes less often, and I always ran into him at school. Once in the cafeteria, the aunt who was serving dishes passed by me, and she almost spilled oil on me. Lu Xing pulled me away. Be careful. Do you only remember the questions in your head and not look at the road? Still, 2 drops of hot oil splashed on my arm, and he took out a piece of toilet paper to wipe it for me. Did it burn you? I'll take you to buy burn ointment. I remained silent. I took 2 steps back. He raised his head and met my indifferent gaze. I Didn't want to talk to him, so I turned around and left. Lu Xing took a long stride and easily blocked my way. Shanine, is it necessary? Are you this angry just because I'm with Zhou Xiaoli? I had to stop. Lu Xing was a head taller than me, and I had to raise my face to see him clearly. I was really speechless and laughed. What am I angry about, Lu Xing? Although we grew up together, don't you really think that I like you? Lu Xing was stunned, and his eyes were full of surprise and doubt. In the past, this was indeed something that we both knew in our hearts. If we didn't like each other, why would Lu Xing be so high profile as to fight for me again and again, and why would I be willing to stay by his side for so many years? In primary school and junior high school, before my mother chose a school for me, I would lie on the ground and act spoiled. I don't care, I want to go to the same school as Lu Xing. When I was even younger, I had an operation due to a concussion and wore a cold brace. The children nearby all said that I was a monster and didn't want to play with me. It was Lu Xing who beat them all up. Whoever doesn't play hide and seek with Shanine, I'll hit their head with a stick. At that time, Lu Xing was more like a little monster, and I was the only person he wanted to protect. Since then, I thought that no matter what kind of person Lu Xing became, I would stand by his side. But reality was never as beautiful as fantasy. Lu Xing had changed, I would change too. I thought that perhaps I had never really liked him. I just wanted to stay by his side all the time. Now I didn't want to stay by his side anymore. I didn't pay attention to Lu Xing anymore. But he came to find me again. After the evening self-study, he pushed a question in front of me. I don't know how to do this, teach me. Although he didn't attend classes, he could still rank among the top 10 in the grade. I could tell at a glance that he definitely knew how to do this question. But before I could speak, Lu Xing was intercepted by Zhou Xiaoli. With tears in her eyes, she grabbed Lu Xing's sleeve. Lu Xing, someone is bullying me. Can you help me? I'm so scared. Lu Xing suddenly frowned tightly. Someone is bullying you. Zhou Xiaoli didn't come to school for the whole afternoon yesterday. She sniffled and said that she had been locked in the toilet and drenched in ice-cold milk. After saying that, she sneezed. She took Lu Xing's hand and put it on her forehead. Lu Xing, feel it. Am I running a fever? I feel so bad. Who did it? Zhou Xiaoli shrank her neck. Her gaze shifted to me. I don't know. I'm afraid to say. Her grades are better than mine, and the teacher definitely won't care about me. I felt the atmosphere around Lu Xing suddenly turn cold. His expression was terrifyingly gloomy. He looked at me. Did you do it? The next second, he stood up and suddenly kicked over my desk. Shanine, are you crazy? Just because of a cup of milk before, is this necessary? I frowned tightly. Yesterday, milk. Quickly, I understood what was going on. I looked at Zhou Xiaoli. She was crying pitifully and kept hiding behind Lu Xing. Lu Xing gritted his teeth and sneered. Shanine, I didn't expect you to be like this. Then what the hell are you pretending to be a good student for? Pretend? I sneered, raised my leg, and kicked the overturned desk towards the two of them. Anyway, I didn't have to come here anymore. Lu Xing was taken aback. I had already picked up my packed school bag. Whether I'm a good student or not has nothing to do with you. Right, and this classmate Zhou, your way of framing people is really not clever. I was in the teacher's office the whole afternoon yesterday, applying for a transfer. You'd better tell me carefully who actually poured the milk on you. Zhou Xiaoli froze. As soon as I finished speaking, her tears stopped on her face. Can't you say it? Heh, I sneered. But I saw you buy a lot of ice creams after school yesterday. You caught a cold. Then you really went to great lengths. Her face suddenly turned red. She was a bit anxious. She grabbed Lu Xing's sleeve. It's not like that, Lu Xing. You have to believe me. I was bullied. But Lu Xing didn't look at her. His gaze stayed on me for a long time. It seemed that after hearing the word transfer, he froze. Lu Xing, don't listen to her nonsense. Let's go. Okay, take me to buy medicine. Lu Xing shook off Zhou Xiaoli's hand. He lowered his eyes, stared straight at me, and asked me, when did this happen? I was silent for 2 seconds and saw that his gaze became even colder. Shanine, speak about the transfer. When did it happen? The air pressure around him dropped. He became extremely dangerous. I met his gaze and expressionlessly spat out a few words. What does it have to do with you? I left as soon as I finished speaking. I was pulled back by Lu Xing, who grabbed the hood of my coat. He held my wrist with one hand, and his eyes were faintly red. Why? Why do you want to transfer? I was getting a bit annoyed. Lu Xing and I were not from the same world. The things he did were always against the norm. Originally, I thought I could integrate with him and understand him, but Lu Xing didn't want that. What he wanted was someone who could be crazy with him. So, couldn't we just end it here? But why did he have to provoke me again? Lu Xing squeezed my wrist so hard that it hurt. and he wouldn't let go no matter how much I struggled. I was brought to tears due to the pain. I simply stopped moving. I took a deep breath and looked at him. Fine, I'll tell you why. Because I feel disgusted when I see someone like you who has fallen so low as to not even study. Lu Xing's pupils suddenly trembled in the moment he was distracted. I pulled out my hand. I casually adjusted the hood. I never looked back at him again. I went home to pack the materials for the registration next week. I didn't have time to eat until very late. My mother brought the dishes into my room. Seeing me flipping through my old certificates, she suddenly asked, "Ineen, do you think there's still hope for that child Lu Xing to study hard?" I don't know. I really didn't know. And I didn't care either. My mother sat down next to me, lost in thought. A few days ago, Aunt Zhang said that she was going to move abroad with her boyfriend. It was decided very urgently. I don't know if that child Lu Xing can accept it. Sigh. Forget it. I used to treat him like my own son, but now he's really gone too far, and I can't do anything about it. I reacted for a moment. That meant that Lu Xing's parents were going to separate completely. I suddenly remembered when I first entered high school. I went to find Lu Xing. He was arguing with his parents. The woman's voice inside was very shrill. "You don't know how lucky you are. It's only because of you that we haven't chosen to separate. Heh, because of me, you get into another man's car alone every weekend, and my dad often stays out all night. Then you come back and sleep in the same bed acting all loving. Don't you think you're perverted?" The man smashed a cup. "What kind of words are you saying? If it weren't for you to get into a good university, do you think we would want to do this?" Lu Xing slammed the door and left. I stood outside and saw his red eyes. Lu Xing's tears fell in an instant. I didn't say anything and stood on tiptoe to gently wipe them away for him. That day in the park, he kept his head down, and his voice was trembling. "Shanine, do you know, I'm very scared. I don't know when my family will completely fall apart." I understood. It was a sense of powerlessness in a precarious situation. It gave people hope, but the result was definitely despair. Lu Xing had always envied me for having a happy family. I also envied him for being in good health since childhood and always winning in fights. For more than a decade, we had been constantly drawing strength from each other, but now, when I thought about it, these fragmented memories seemed so unfamiliar. It was as if they belonged to someone else. No matter what, Lu Xing's life was completely irrelevant to me. Before Lu Xing's mother left, she came to see me. She said that I was his last hope. "Lu Xing listens to you the most. If he does anything out of line, please help me persuade him." My mother stepped in to stop her. "Xiaosu, although we've been good friends for a long time, don't make things difficult for the child." She was silent for a while, then nodded and left. At No. 1 Middle School, I successfully obtained the qualification for recommended for postgraduate studies without taking the entrance exam as I wished. I was going to study at Fudan University, and Lu Xing, I heard that he got into several fierce fights again. He became more and more difficult to deal with. As for his studies, he and Zhou Shali were the same. They never appeared on the grade ranking list again. They completely gave up on themselves. On the day of the college entrance examination, I didn't need to take it. The day the results came out had nothing to do with me either. To experience the graduation atmosphere, I went to a dinner party with my classmates. Coincidentally, I ran into Lu Xing. There was a bit of red at the tip of his finger. Holding a cigarette, I remembered that he had never seemed to touch a cigarette before. Zhou Shali stood beside him, her eyes full of disbelief. "Lu Xing, what did you say? You want to break up with me?" Lu Xing didn't even raise his eyelids. "Yes." With a crisp sound, Zhou Shali raised her hand and slapped Lu Xing in the face, and then started crying. "I skipped the college entrance examination with you, and now you're telling me you want to break up. Why, Lu Xing, tell me why?" Lu Xing raised his hand to wipe his face. He smiled casually. "Do I need a reason? I'm bored. Is that okay?" He blew a smoke ring at her. "Also, do you know what kind of person I hate the most?" He paused for a moment, as if thinking about something. He showed a malicious smile. "It's someone like you, who has fallen so low as to not even take the college entrance examination. Lu Xing, you son of a bitch." Zhou Shali was extremely angry. Grinning her teeth, she pointed at Lu Xing's nose. "She, who was always gentle, cursed, it was you who told me that the college entrance examination was useless. I knew it. I knew that your mother abandoned you because you're a complete piece of trash." As soon as she finished speaking, her neck was grabbed by Lu Xing. Lu Xing's eyes turned red. "What did you say? Say it again." Zhou Shali was choked and couldn't breathe. She kept slapping Lu Xing's hand, with tears in her eyes but unable to speak. Just then, Lu Xing's gaze suddenly shifted. He saw me. After a 2-second pause, Lu Xing released his hand and immediately hid the cigarette behind his back. He secretly extinguished it. His expression was full of unnatural unease. Shanine, I nodded. Did you do well in the exam? Lu Xing froze. He hesitated for a long time and couldn't say anything that was as polite as I could be. When I turned around to enter the dining room, Lu Xing suddenly grabbed my hand. I turned around in confusion. The corners of Lu Xing's mouth were tightly pursed, and his eyes were deep, like a turbulent icy lake. Shanine, you lied to me. What did I lie to you about? His voice suddenly became a bit hoarse, and the corners of his eyes were also red. You said that you would always be with me. I was stunned and suddenly shook off his hand. Lu Xing, get it straight. Do you have the right to ask me such a question? And a person more shocked than me was Zhou Xiaoli. There was still a red mark around her neck. She rushed up again. Lu Xing, what are you pretending for? She Shanine, that stuck-up goody two-shoes who only knows how to study, isn't that what you said? As she spoke, she came to push me. You bitch, what are you looking at? This is between me and Lu Xing. Before she could finish, Lu Xing grabbed her collar and threw her to the ground. Before I could react, he forcefully pulled me into another private room. It's not like that, Shanine, listen to my explanation. I stared at him steadily, then I slowly pried open his hand that was on my shoulder. Lu Xing, do you never know how to respect other people's thoughts? I'm here to have a party with my friends, and I'm going to be late. I didn't want to have any extra conversation with Lu Xing at all. He seemed a bit different from before, but I didn't want to try to understand him anymore. Also, why do you think I want to hear your explanation? You said I'm a goody two-shoes and a good student. I'm honored. And that's why I can go to Fudan University. Me be with you. How? Be with you and sink as low as you. You're thinking too much. I left the private room under the dim and indistinct lights. I couldn't see Lu Xing's expression clearly anymore. He stood there blankly for a long time at the party. Everyone was toasting each other. In the middle of it, someone accidentally pushed the door open. It was my former deskmate. She was beaming with joy. Shanine, you're here too. She was a friend of the other people present. We hadn't seen each other for a while, and she was very excited to tell me that she also did well in the exam. Lu Xing seems to have been standing outside for a long time. I don't know who he's waiting for. I clinked my soda with hers. Yeah, who knows? She leaned over curiously and asked me, do you really not like Lu Xing at all anymore? I took a sip of juice. Yeah, I knew what was on her mind. During adolescence, who didn't have a crush on someone? Most of the results, I guess, should end up in vain. My deskmate let out a sigh. I really envy you, but I still hope that the person I like likes me too. When she said this, she seemed to think that this exclamation was inappropriate. She scolded for me. But that Zhou Xiaoli is really a bitch. I silently shook my cup. I couldn't make any comment, but 2 days later, I heard that Zhou Xiaoli was beaten up. It was the former gang leader. He still held a grudge for being beaten up before. He had been suspended from school for a while and didn't dare to do anything at school. After graduation, he finally found the opportunity. He blocked Zhou Xiaoli at the entrance of the alley and gave her several hard punches. You bitch, you talk a lot of nonsense, don't you? I didn't insult you before, but these shoes of yours today are really fucking tacky. After venting his anger, he stuffed the phone into Zhou Xiaoli's hand. Come on, call someone, call that guy surnamed Lu over, and I won't hit you anymore. Zhou Xiaoli wailed and called Lu Xing. After Lu Xing answered, he hung up impatiently. Then it kept showing that the line was busy because Lu Xing was calling me. He said that he was in the hospital. The hospital? Lu Xing's tone was a bit dejected, and his voice was trembling. Shanine, can you come and see me? It hurts so much. Did you get into a fight? Yeah. I took a deep breath, feeling a bit helpless. Lu Xing, you brought this upon yourself. I'm not responsible for it. Don't hang up yet. I was just about to hang up. He suddenly said again, Shanine, please, the previous wound has become infected, and no one is with me for the operation. I'm really scared. His voice lowered. It was as if he was saying something very embarrassing. In the end, his voice was just very soft. Please. I couldn't help but think of the past. Every time Lu Xing was sick, he didn't like going to the hospital and would just tough it out. Then he ended up with acute gastritis. For the painless gastroscopy, he needed someone to accompany him. On that day, his parents weren't at home. Lu Xing once said that both of them had their own lives, and after leaving that home, it was basically impossible to get through to them on the phone. It was me who accompanied Lu Xing. He raised the corners of his mouth and smiled brightly. Shanine, do you think I'm really embarrassing living like this? I shook my head. Of course not. When Lu Xing woke up from the anesthesia, I was sitting next to him. He lowered his head, and his nose was a bit stuffy. "Shanine, thank you," that's what he said, but at that time, I clearly saw a trace of melancholy in his eyes that day. I vaguely felt that something was different. Later, I found out in Lu Xing's eyes, I was in a different situation from him, and I could never truly empathize with him. All he could say to me was a thank you. There was an insurmountable gap between us from the start. When we were young, everyone wanted to be Ultraman who saved the world. As we grew up, we gradually realized that no one was there to save us. For Lu Xing, I was not as useful as Zhou Shali was to Lu Xing. They could share their hardships, and I really wasn't qualified. I didn't go to the hospital. I never answered Lu Xing's calls again. Let him bear his own hardships. I cut off all contact with Lu Xing. My mother still often kept in touch with his mother. I heard that his mother was pregnant abroad. After learning that Lu Xing didn't take the college entrance examination, she was silent. That child can't be managed. Let his father take care of it. But Lu Xing's father also quickly formed a new family. After all, she watched him grow up. My mother felt a bit sorry for him. What exactly did that child do wrong to end up like this? I didn't know. Lu Xing's life and mine were two parallel lines. Logically speaking, they should never have intersected. It was because we tried to get close that we had these 19 years of being together day and night. If he didn't do anything wrong, then of course I didn't do anything wrong either. I got into the university I wanted to go to through my own efforts and lived the life I wanted. That's all. Before the university started, I saw Lu Xing for the last time. He was waiting downstairs at my house. He waited for a long time. I didn't understand why he was so determined to have contact with me. "Shanine, there's something I have to tell you." I looked at him in silence. After not seeing him for a while, a lot of the youthful spirit on him seemed to have faded away. He was also a bit thinner. He still smiled cleanly, but there was a hint of bitterness. I like you." After he said that, I involuntarily froze for a moment. In the silent confrontation, Lu Xing turned his head first. Suddenly, I realized that I seemed to have been waiting for this sentence for a very long time, but that was in the past. I shook my head. "There's no need to say this. I don't like you either." Lu Xing gave a bitter smile. "I know, you're going to university, and someone like me doesn't deserve you." "No, Lu Xing," I interrupted him, "you should understand that I never cared what kind of person you are." He suddenly raised his eyes and saw my unusually serious expression. The summer wind carried a wave of heat. It blew up the bangs of both him and me. Our gazes met without any obstruction. I showed a relieved smile. "I used to think that maybe we would always be close, but Lu Xing, you chose someone else and a different path. Then we have to take responsibility for our own choices." Lu Xing didn't speak for a long time. He understood what I meant. Before I was about to go upstairs, he suddenly called out to me. His voice was trembling uncontrollably. "But Shanine, I regret it." "What should I do if I regret it?" "I like you. I shouldn't have been with Zhou Shali, and I shouldn't have missed this college entrance examination." That being said, I didn't stop walking. I didn't look back either. His voice was lost in the rustling sound of the summer wind. Slowly, I couldn't hear it at all. I entered the university full of expectations. I made new friends. I entered a new life. It's just that Lu Xing was no longer in my life. After a while, my former deskmate came to tell me she was together with the person she liked. "Shanine, can you believe how coincidental it is?" I mustered up the courage to confess to him. And it turned out that he liked me too. I was really happy for her. Mutual affection and staying together for a long time were probably the two most difficult things in the world. I wished her that her relationship would last. "What about you? Do you have someone you like?" I thought for a while. "Recently, there's a senior. We get along really well when we talk." "What's that?" "If you like someone, just say it." I smiled but didn't say anything. Later, when I got home, I accidentally heard news about Lu Xing from my mother. He repeated his senior year of high school. It was still at the same school as before, but Zhou Shali wasn't there anymore. She was a poor student and couldn't afford the tuition for repeating the year. She went to settle accounts with Lu Xing several times. She also regretted it. "I shouldn't have skipped classes with you." Lu Xing simply ignored her. Later, Zhou Shali didn't pester Lu Xing anymore. She was taken home by her family. She found a good husband's family. She pleaded for help but got no response. I didn't know what she was thinking, but she actually came to find me. "Shanine, don't you think you should be responsible for me? Long time no see. Have you lost your mind?" She suddenly became excited. "If you hadn't failed to keep your childhood friend in line, he wouldn't have come to lead me astray." I thought it was ridiculous. I asked her, "Do you think that if it weren't for you, I would have had a puppy love with Lu Xing? Otherwise, you study so hard just to beat me in other aspects." "Right." I was a bit speechless. This kind of thinking was really full of flaws. Now it seemed that it was reasonable for her to be led astray by Lu Xing. I gave her a piece of good advice for the last time. Studying hard is the most fair way out for everyone. Unexpectedly, she replied, "What are you pretending for?" I sighed and blocked her. A year later, Lu Xing took the college entrance examination. He had good grades originally, and he easily reached the admission score line of Fudan University. He came to find me. "Shanine, if you don't want to see me, I won't go." That day, my boyfriend happened to be there. He came out from behind, and Lu Xing was instantly stunned on the spot. "Empty." I nodded and asked Lu Xing, "What did you just say?" I looked carefully and found that he was holding a very small origami star in his hand. It looked very familiar. I remembered that when I was a child, during my hospitalization due to a concussion, I folded it. The most perfect one was given to Lu Xing. One star can make a wish come true. Lu Xing held the star in front of me. "Shanine, does this count?" I looked at it for a while. I took my boyfriend's arm and smiled. It was just a childhood joke. The creases of that star were already tattered. When the sunlight fell on it, it still looked dull. Nothing stays the same. The past, let it stay in the past.